Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Scala, every Saturday night on the LNM Network from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Scala.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill.
Hello and welcome everyone. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. An honor and a privilege to be with you tonight. Thank you for taking time to tune in and allowing me to share with you some of the things that I run into. Well, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? Wow, some things are really going on crazy here in Florida, where I live anyway. I don't know about where you are. But we're going to have a meeting here coming up. I think it's this next week. Yours truly may end up behind bars. We're going to have a commissioners meeting here in Palm Beach County next week. And one of the things we're going to discuss is the mandatory wearing of masks. I'll take a little breather there. I get so mad. Honestly, I get so upset that I'm afraid that I'm going to say something I really will come out wrong. But my question to them is going to be very simple. On what basis do you derive the authority to regulate the breathing of another human being? If you're going to tell me that we are involved in a pandemic, define a pandemic, because what I'm seeing is not a pandemic at all. If they tell me that the numbers are increasing because Florida is opening up, I'm going to tell them the CDC has just admitted over 40% of the tests are inaccurate. 40% of the tests show a false positive. In other words, you may not have this virus, but they test you and son of a gun, there it is, hey! So why are we being forced to wear a mask? If they tell me that it's for the safety of others, what about my safety? What about my personal health? What happened to the movement that was so strong just a short time ago that said, my body, my choice? It doesn't fit the narrative. So I've had a couple of emails, a couple of contacts through the social media, and a couple of emails come in and ask me why it is I'm so adamant against wearing a mask. There's many reasons. First and foremost, I truly believe that I don't need a mask. Secondarily, I have, believe it or not, worn a mask. I had a call to a very wealthy and elderly man. I joked with the man and told him steps on his house, a frickin' mansion, but steps on his house were worth more than my steps on his whole house were worth more than my whole home, just the steps. And he asked me to wear a mask. Okay, well, he's elderly, and we know that the elderly are more prone to this. So to make him feel comfortable, I have a mask. I put a mask on. Not that it's going to do any good, but it does make him feel comfortable. I am in his home, and I am doing work for him. I could always refuse to do the work. He was a nice guy. Work wasn't too difficult. He paid me right there on the spot. I left his home, took the mask off. So how do I feel about the mask? I feel that you have the right to wear a mask if you want to wear a mask. I'm not going to judge you for that. That's your right. It's your body. You want to put that mask on, put the mask on. I feel the same way with vaccines. If you want to take a vaccine, it's your choice. I'm not going to judge you if you want to take a vaccine. It's you that's being affected, not me. Where I have a problem is when people force me to do something that I don't want to do against my will that would cause me undue stress. Then I have a problem, all in the benefit of the herd. So I want to know where they got the authority to regulate the breathing of a human being. I also would like to let them know that the N95 mask that they're all heralding about, the N95 mask, we got to have an N95 mask. The ignorance that people have and then continue to pass that on. Many years ago, I worked for a distributor in South Florida, and our main product line were 3M products. And we worked in a unique distributorship that sold products that 3M made that would go to manufacturers that helped them make their products. It's pretty ingenious. And 3M was known for the highest of quality. They had products that were used in Bertram yachts, for example. Crazy products, but really, really good. So one product they had that was used in the boating industry quite frequently was a stuff that looked like caulking compound, but it cured with water. How do you like that? One of the divisions that I worked with was the safety division. And in the safety division, there were a variety of masks. N95 was one of those. I took classes, of course this is many years ago and I've forgotten much of it, but I do remember bits and pieces of it. I took classes so that when I approached other businesses, I could explain to them how these masks were tested and what they were tested for and the environment they were tested in. And here's what happens when you're wearing an N95 series mask, particularly the 3M version. What you breathe in, let me back up a minute. First and foremost, you have to know how to fit the mask on your face. Just slapping the mask on doesn't mean that you've protected yourself. The mask has to be fitted on your face. You'll find that the mask has an aluminum strip in the nose area. This is to be used to conform the mask to your face. Now, I haven't seen one of these masks in a while, but that's how it used to be. There was an aluminum strip up there in the nose area, and that aluminum strip was to be used by pressure with your fingers to conform it to your face, around your nose and so forth. So before you use the mask, you have to fit the mask. Secondarily, the mask is intended for contaminated environments. What that means is you're entering an environment that's already contaminated, and this mask helps you breathe in clean air. The mask also has a valve on it, direct output valve. That means you breathe in whatever it is from the contaminated area. Hopefully it cleans it out for you. And what you breathe out goes directly back out into the environment. So what's the problem with that, Rascala? Well, let's just say, for example's sake, you're one of those people who is sick. You have COVID-19, and you think you're protecting others by wearing one of these masks. You see where I'm going? It's a direct output port. So you're breathing out COVID-infected breath into the environment. That's supposed to help. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. This is a very serious thing, but some of the things that are happening are so silly. So here I am. I'm Mr. Smith, and I'm infected. I know I'm infected. I've already tested, and they told me I'm infected, and I'm wearing a mask to protect you. An N95 mask. Am I protecting you? Well, here you are. You're wearing a cloth mask. A mask that you made at home. A mask that maybe wasn't made at home. Maybe it was made on a production line, but it's a comfortable mask. You have to wear it for a while, so you don't want it to be stiff and rough on your face, and so it's soft. This virus that they call a virus, which now I find is actually bacteria, but that's a whole nother show. So I'm just going to call it a virus right now. The particle size of this virus is 0.6 micron. That really doesn't mean spit to anybody because a lot of people don't know what a micron is. But the numbers will make sense to you. These cloth masks, they would take care of particulates that are probably around 5 to 10 micron. So wearing a cloth mask, if somebody happens to have a 3M N95 series mask on who happens to be infected and breathing out contaminated air, your cloth mask is not going to do spit. Why? Because the particulate size of the virus is 0.6, and the ability of your mask to filter out different things is around 5 to 10 micron. That's like trying to stop a mosquito using a chain link fence. It isn't going to work. Now, if they happen to spit on you or something, that's a little different. It'll stop the majority of it naturally, but there still is going to go through. Secondarily, those cloth masks, you're breathing out warm, moist air. Guess what's happening on the inside of that mask where your lips are? You're a breeding ground for germs. The amount of oxygen that you are inhaling is reduced. What is the first thing that is affected by reduced oxygen in the system? Your immune system. Your immune system begins to drop because it can't have the proper nourishment in order to fight off whatever is going on. These people are trying to protect people. They're not doing it the right way, I'll tell you now. If you're so worried about going out in public and spreading this, quote, virus, the real kind of mask that you should be wearing, if you are so concerned about being infected, would be an entire facial covering, an enclosed mask with a separated filter that can filter down to 0.1 micron. Possibly even an oxygen assist, because of the filtration would be so fine it may be too hard to breathe. Do you think that the only place that this virus can enter is your mouth or your nose? You might be surprised to find out it comes in through your eyes, this virus. Did you know that the WHO, the World Health Organization, not a bunch of criminals. I didn't know this until just recently, until I read the article about Italy. They were telling everybody that the bodies needed to be burned. They want them all cremated. I thought, well, the reason they're probably, when I first heard about that, I said the reason is probably is because some of them really do have this flu, and they're so afraid of the flu that they figure if they burn the bodies up, that'll, no chance of it spreading anymore. Well, Italy decided to go against the orders or regulations or whatever you want to call them by the WHO, started doing autopsies and found out that the bodies actually contained a bacteria. It's not a virus. It's a bacteria. And if you treat it as a bacteria with hydrochloroquine and a Z-Pack, the effects are 99.9% positive. And we're not talking about managing anything. We're talking about that nasty C letter, that 4-letter C word, the nasty C word with 4 letters that the pharmacists hate, the pharma company hates. Cure. Get your mind out of the gutter. It will cure this bacteria, virus, whatever they want to call it, pandemic. Oh, be afraid. You're going to die. Everybody's going to die. The world's coming to an end. It's irritating. It's irritating because sadly there are people out there who are believing much of this insanity. And then I'll be going to this meeting, I have to deal with people who are supposed to be responsible for many lives, who think that they can sit behind a chair and a desk and say, from now on, you're going to have to wear a mask. And tell me that if I don't, they're either going to fine me, they're going to extort money from me, or they possibly could I don't know why I'm having such a hard time talking tonight. They possibly could put me into a cage. Legislation has been passed that says eventually here, people can come to your home without a warrant, knock on your door, and if they suspect that something is happening with this pandemic, they can remove you from the home to protect whoever else is in the home, or if you have an elderly parent, will remove the parent, or child will remove the child. Put them in a safe environment. This is what is coming. Because people have been silent. People have been ignorant. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. It's done on purpose. They don't want you to know about this stuff. They just want to pass it and then tell you, ba-bing, guess what? You got to wear a mask. What else are you going to make me wear? They have to put a little Jewish star on the left part of above my heart from now on? Do I have to wear a certain color so that you know, or maybe a band on my arm so that you know who I am? What else am I going to have to wear? Now, if a store wants to pass a ruling, make it part of their way of business, that's up to the store. You have the right not to go in the store. But when someone who is within the government says you have to wear a mask, that means you got to wear them every time you go outside. You got to put a mask on. You can go pound sand, pal. It ain't going to happen with this guy. We're going to have a real problem. And that's my fear. I'm going to tell them just like I told you just now. They do not have the right to regulate how I breathe. And somewhere, somehow, we have to draw the damn line. This is ridiculous. I have doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor who says it's not necessary for you to wear a mask if you're not sick. It's not necessary for you to wear a mask out in public if you're experiencing or using, or however you want to describe it, this social distancing. Oh, this all drives me. I swear I am in the toilet. Where is it? Find it. I swear. This is what we're going through. This is the craziest thing. They're going to tell me I have to wear a mask. They're going to tell me eventually, where's your COVID, Riscala? Where is your certificate of vaccination ID? What'd you do with it? Oh, you can't shop here, you can't travel, and you can't have a bank account because you don't have a COVID. Somebody help me. This is crazy, you guys. Why are we allowing this to go on? Why? Well, come Tuesday, I think it's, I'm going to go look at the date, but I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday this coming week. They're going to hear how I feel, and I'm not going to hold back. They're going to hear everything. They may tell me to shut up, and I'm not going to shut up. They may tell me to leave, and they'll probably have to carry me out and take me to the cage. But I'd be damned if I'm going to sit by silently and let these people continue to hurt other people as well as me. They do not have the authority to do this, pandemic or no pandemic. It does not give them the right to overrule the Constitution. There is a reason we have a Constitution. It's like changing the rules of the game in the middle of the game. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about my guest tonight. His name is Sir Timothy Thrapp, and he is with the WITS Ministry. The WITS Ministry, it stands for World. Oh man, I'm having such a hard time. This little thing is squealing in the background, and I hope it's not going out over the air. World Improvement Through the Spirit. Let me go ahead and take a break right now, and I'll be back in a minute. And let me get rid of this squeak because it's driving me crazy. And I'll tell you a little bit more about who's coming on with me, and some very important information I think is he wants to share. This ministry is involved with advanced teachings, advanced technologies. They have a variety of just all kinds of things. Anything from healing to generating electricity to you name it, they got it. It's just everything but the kitchen sink. Here we go.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Being a dad is an adventure full of special moments.
A cruise?
Surprise!
Unexpected moments.
I got this.
And even awkward moments.
Okay, Dad, thank you.
But every moment you spend with your kids, even the smallest moments, can make the biggest impact on your child's life. So take a moment to be a dad today.
There's a lot of fear in coming back to school. I wasn't sure if I could do it. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but the teachers, the counselors, they help you. One of the teachers was Miss Araceli. Miss Araceli, she gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll come over and she'll sit there with you until you get it. Thank you, Miss Araceli. I know you make a difference in people's lives because of the person and teacher you are. I wanted to be here because I wanted to thank you for helping me get a beautiful gift. 50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work. Getting your high school diploma, it is a life-changing experience. It really is.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Have you ever heard of Audible? Audible is a website with hundreds of thousands of audiobooks. They're all high quality, easy to listen to, and, best of all, if you take advantage of a special deal that we've worked out for you, you can get one for free. That's right, a free audiobook of your choice in any genre, simply by going to audibletrial.com/openeyes and signing up for the free trial. It's simple to do, and it would support the shows that we bring to you, and hey, you get a free book out of the whole thing. So why not take advantage of it today? Go to audibletrial.com/openeyes and sign up for the trial.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
While other stations just talk a good game, we win it.
Hey, sounds like somebody's having a lot of fun.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes,
Now, from sunny South Florida, It's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscala. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on the L&M Network. And now, your host, Riscala.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill.
There we go. All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. I'm having a little bit of technical issues tonight. I don't know what the hell's going on here. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Microphone giving me a hard time. Stop that. Oh, my. All right, I'm waiting for Sir Timothy Thrapp to call in from Witt's Ministries. He'll be calling in a few minutes. Very interesting ministry that's been around for a very long time. Their purpose really is to help make the world a better place for everybody. They have technologies that would just blow your mind. Unfortunately, for many, many years, they have been purposely suppressed. They have been warned by the governments, not just ours, others as well. They have been forced to keep much of this to themselves as well as for the government. They build these things for the government as well. Craft that would, what people would call a flying saucer. He has been involved in that. Generators that don't use any fuel that we understand anyway. They have been involved in that as well. Healing technology, which actually some of it's now actually being copied, but it's not anywhere near as good as what they have. But if you've seen these patches that are coming out now that people wear for pain, they had that technology 20 years ago, or probably even more than that. Just a wide variety of technology that they have available. And he is, first and foremost, what they believe is that they are servants of God, and that they serve God first and mankind second. And he believes that God has given him a message, and I think he's called in. Hang on just a minute, Sir Timothy, I'll be right with you. God has given him a message, and there's an urgent message, and he wants to share it with other people. And I think it needs to be heard. So anyway, welcome, Sir Timothy. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. You're coming through loud and clear.
All right. Awesome. Well, sorry, I was a little bit delayed on, I had somebody show up here, so I was a little bit delayed on calling in. So hopefully that 4 or 5 minutes didn't bother you too much.
No, not at all. I did not mention that. Sir Timothy is not in the country. He's just somewhere else. He's out of the country. So what time is it where you are right now?
It's 9:30 in the morning. It's a beautiful day. We are on a mission. We do missions all over the world, helping the poor and the needy, and we do a lot of stuff besides what people normally consider scientific engineering. We teach the gospel of Jesus Christ. We raise the dead. We heal the sick. We build houses for people. We build repair houses for people. We put in wells. All kinds of whatever people need. They put in alternative energy systems, whatever people need, and that's what we do in our work. And Brother Riscala is an awesome trooper as well, awesome man of God. You've helped with our ministry, and we really appreciate that. And it's exciting. There's a lot of opportunities to help the world and to help the kingdom of God right now.
Amen. So I told a little bit about what, just a very small sketch of what the ministry does. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit some of the highlights that the ministry has done.
Okay, well, one of the big ones was the Rhine River in Europe being cleaned up. Many people that lived there back in the 80s and 90s knew that it was polluted like a sewer, basically. And we developed a technology. We actually developed it over 100 years ago, but it was working to get these things implemented take time and so on. But we developed the technology, and we still have it. We're still implementing it. It's water cleanup and pollution remediation. for water. We have water and air and land pollution remediation. We have systems for all three. But anyway, that we put that in, and I think it was about a month's time. Actually, I think about a week's time. No longer stunk. Within a month, the birds and the fish are coming back into the water. And it was a huge change for Europe. That river flows through Europe, the Rhine River. And we've implemented this on a number of other rivers as well, and lakes and ponds. And that's our pollution remediation. But we do all kinds of solutions to any problem in the world is what we offer. We have solutions for all the problems. And God's the one that gave it to us, not me. It's not Tesla. Tesla was our fourth spokesman. Before him, first spokesman was Michael Faraday, Brother Michael Faraday, a man of God. A lot of people don't know he's a man of God. They know he's a scientist, but they don't know he's a man of God. All of our main people are scientists, and as well as servants of God and servants of humanity. We teach the whole truth. It's pretty awesome stuff, what God is doing and what he's planning to do in the near future. Pretty awesome stuff.
So I know that you got a message that you feel came from the Lord, and
yes.
It's an urgent message, and that you felt it important to share this message with as many people as possible. So you and I spoke about coming on tonight and sharing that message with the people tonight. I wanted them to get a little bit of a background of who you were. He's not just a minister, you guys. This man is, when I say awesome, there's not very many people that you would meet like Sir Timothy. Now, for example, he goes by Sir Timothy because the surname, the Sir part of his name, he was knighted, he was granted a knighthood, and part of that grant, or part of the reason for that grant, was what he just explained to you. He cleaned up the river, or his ministry cleaned up the river for them, and as a thanks, they gave him a knighthood for that. This is just one of the very smallest things. He's also someone who is very fluent in the health care of a human being, in the body of a human being. Not only that, we go literally from one side of the earth to the other with this man. He has worked on stuff that is not of this world. This is the best way I can tell you. It's just not of this planet. And he has worked as simple as laying hands on people and praying for them and watching them be healed. He's you won't meet a lot of people like Sir Timothy. He's humble, but the one thing I enjoy about him very much is that when he speaks right there, right from the heart. It's not. He may not tell it to you in a professional. I can't think of the right word, in a way that's really, all the words are put together correctly and he pronounces everything. He may not come across like that, but I will tell you what he comes across with is truth, and I believe very much that it is truth coming directly from our Creator, from God. And this has been laid on his heart, and he wants to share it with people. So give him the opportunity to do that, and I'd ask each of you to please listen carefully. Don't take what this man says lightly. This is very, very important. I'm devoting a show to this because that's how important I feel it is. It's important for you to hear what he has to say. Go ahead, Sir Timothy.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Scala. I do want to clarify the Rhine River cleanup was not done by our ministry. It was done by a company that we sold, we didn't actually sell. They donated, and we gave them the technology. And so it was our technology, and that's why the King of France wanted us to, come and be honored in their country and so on. And there was a ceremony. It was back in the 90s, a big ceremony, and so I think 3 of us from WITS went over there, and they paid our trip, and they're very nice people, the whole royal family. A lot of people don't know that France still has a royal family. There's a number. They're not as involved in the government as England and the royal family there. They're basically France is the king and queen and the royal family are more low key, and it was that way in China also. I've met, when we worked for the emperor there in China, I've met with a lot of leaders of governments worldwide. And the reason I talk simple is because the Lord told me years ago. I used to talk with lots of educated big words and all that, and I do have a lot of education, but the Lord told me that 90% of the people are missing everything you're saying. So talk as simple as you can, he told me. So ever since then, I've been talking as simple as I can.
Well,
if you use a linguistics, you'll miss a lot of people, Anyway, yeah. So the Lord appeared to me in a vision, and a number of times, but the biggest one of the biggest ones, was in the year 2000. And he told me all the world events coming up until now, even including 2020 and the end of 2020. And I did start sharing it right away because he told me to share it right away, and everybody laughed. The events for 2020. Well, in other words, he told me about. I don't think it was that vision. I think it was the previous vision. He told me about the Twin Towers, how that was going to happen, and later he told me about the 2008 financial collapse. But anyway, in the vision in 2020, in September of 2020, he showed up and he appeared to me in a vision. And it was just like I was there, like I was out of my body, up in a cloud. And he told me that in 2020, there's going to be a great war, a beginning of what he called World War III. And he said, tell the people to get ready. And I've been telling them for almost 20 years now. It'll be 20 years in September. And most of them laughed up until this year. Up until the year 2020 actually started, nobody took it seriously. Everybody thought, well, there's no way China's going to become a world power. And, back in the year 2000, when I first started telling people that, they laughed. Everybody laughed. And no matter who I told it to, they laughed. There's no way. It's so ridiculous. And yet all those things come to pass, just exactly like he told me. The 2008 real estate disaster, all the different countries that are invaded by the United States, and other wars that are going on, that people don't even necessarily realize. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff. But anyway, the big news is to get ready for World War III. And the United States and Europe are going to be totally wiped out or decimated. The major cities will be nuked, basically. I don't know how many nukes. He showed me 13 that I remember in the vision, but that's just in the United States. But I suspect there'll be more. And he did tell me the future is not written in stone. He said that if people repent in any city, it could be spared. And so that may be the reason he didn't tell me specific cities too much. But I did notice that when he showed me the part where we looked over the whole United States. In one part of the vision, we were looking over the whole United States, and I saw where the nukes would go off. And one of them was very close to Chicago, and one of them was very close to Dayton, Ohio. It actually looked like two of them in Dayton, Ohio, but I can't swear to it. But there was others that I saw, and I counted about 13 nukes in the United States. But he did tell me clearly the future is not written in stone. He said if any city, if people repent and turn to him, that they could be spared. And he also said to me another thing that I consider very important. He said, I will return and call my own unto myself before the worst shall come. And at the time he told me that, I was thinking he was talking about just before the World War III started, which the indication to me is it's going to start in September. In other words, officially, there already turmoil everywhere in the United States. So you can see it brewing or already started. Technically, it's hard, when you look at world wars, it's hard to pin exactly when they start or exactly when they end. If you look at them, history will always tell you this date they did such and such, and that's officially when it started. But when you're living through it, you can talk to people. If you can find anybody still alive from World War II, I talked to one old guy, and he says, I think World War II is still going on. And that was in the 90s. He said that.
Wow.
And, the Cold War it went on for a long time, and that was kind of the aftermath of World War II. I remember when we were trying to order stuff, if we didn't have a government ID number type thing, you can order even simple things, like meters and oscilloscopes. It was back in the 60s and 70s and even 80s. This went on up to about 84, 85, 86.
I remember that. Yeah.
What?
I remember that.
Yeah, so that's Cold War, and that's left over from World War II. So you say, well, where did it officially end? Well, officially, they tell us it lasted 4 years, and it ended when when the United States dropped nukes on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But, unofficially, there was another battle, and you probably talked about it here on your program. I know we've talked about it on our program. There was at least one other actually probably two big battles that were related to World War II that happened after that. And one of them was in Antarctica when Admiral Byrd went down there to try to see what the Nazi base looked like down there. And they got wiped out pretty much. They just allowed a few survivors to go back and report how superior the Nazi base was, and that's about it. The other battle that was quite famous was I'm trying to remember. I think it was called the Battle of Los Angeles. It was a bunch of advanced aerial ships showed up one night, and they were shooting at them. No damage. You heard about that, right, Brother Scala?
Yeah, there is a video. I don't know if it's still around, but there was a video of that. It's old. It's black and white, and they used these. Many people don't even know these things existed at one time. They had these spotlights. The thing must have been 20 feet in diameter. This thing is huge, this spotlight. And somehow it burned carbon rods, because I was a kid and I was just mesmerized by these things. They would shine the light up in the sky, and it would go up for, my gosh, all the way out into space, I think. And the picture showed numerous spotlights all up in the sky trying to locate these things, and they were so fast they couldn't keep the light on them. And it went on for quite some time. That's documented. Yeah.
Anybody can look that up, Google it. And so anyway, it's important to note that it's difficult to say exactly when a war starts or exactly when it ends if you're actually living through it. But afterward, history can write anything they want. They can say, well, it started.
That's right.
So when you Google, when did World War II start, when did World War II end, and you can easily find dates and times and stuff, but reality doesn't match what you're told in the history books many times, not real closely, and just roughly. And so the same thing would be with World War III. You could say it already started or it's about to start, but it's going to get more and more intense, just like World War II did, and World War I did also. Got more and more intense as it went on. World War II, they finally dropped nuclear bombs, started dropping nuclear bombs, and that's when basically, enough people realized that they didn't want to participate in it anymore, and that's what finally ended it. Really, it gradually died out, basically. But there were at least two more battles related to World War II after that. But anyway, so the point is, this World War III is already officially started, or it's going to officially start in September. But there's going to be a big event with the Lord's return simultaneously in some point in this war, I think. And this is what the exact quote is that he said to me, exact words: I shall return, this is Jesus speaking, I shall return and call my own unto myself before the worst shall come. And, for a long time I was praying about it and trying to understand that, and I was thinking, well, it's got to be just before the World War III starts. And I thought, well, for sure it's going to start in September. And there's many reasons I felt like September would be the date. I can go through those because we have 2 hours. But I can go through some of those. But there's many reasons why I believe it's going to maybe officially start in September. Maybe officially it'll be announced in the news in September. But so initially I thought for sure it was just like the first day of the war the Lord would return and call his own unto himself. But then after thinking about it, he said, before the worst shall come. And I was thinking, well, the nukes are pretty bad at the end. Maybe that's the worst he's talking about. And so, he said it would be a short war. That's another thing he told me. And he showed me the cities. He took me into the future. It looked like the future. I mean, it's a vision. So, I actually my body didn't travel in the future, but it seemed as though my body, it seemed, when you're in a vision, some visions, it really seems like your body's there. And that's what Paul said, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know. Paul had visions, the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Peter had visions. And you can Google this to look it up, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know. So, they were talking about visions they had. Peter had a number of visions. Probably all the apostles had visions. And today, God still speaks through visions. He speaks through dreams. He speaks through the inward witness, which is intuition. Sometimes you just know things, and there's no reason you should know that. That's God telling you something. whenever, and that's usually called a word of knowledge. That's not a vision, but the word of knowledge, in my opinion, is a type of revelation. But the highest revelation and the lowest vision are almost identical, in my opinion. And there's different kinds of visions, different kinds of revelations, different kinds of words of knowledge. But anyway, the point is, you know things without any reason. Even deja vu is really, when they tell you, well, your subconscious mind predicted that event. That's when you go into a room or go into a city and you just seem to know where everything is, or a bunch of things are, or you know a bunch of things about that city. And you're trying to remember, well, it seems like memory. And you're saying, well, how do I know this? How am I remembering this? And you look it up in the encyclopedia, or you look it up nowadays online, Google, and it'll tell you, well, your subconscious mind predicted exactly what you were going to experience ahead of time, and that's why it seems like memory. Well, the truth is, God told you. That's the truth. In other words, your subconscious mind can't predict every little detail like that, and especially locations and places and names of stores and all this, exactly where they are in the city you've never been to, stuff like this, or a room you've never been to, where the people are, what their names are, and all that. Your subconscious mind can't do that. In other words, your subconscious mind is your spirit, and it is connected to God, and God himself communes with your spirit if you've received him. As many as received him, the scripture says, as many as received him, to them he gave power to become the children of God. So, and then it says later, beloved, now we are the children of God. So we not only become the children of God, but we are the children of God. And that's pretty awesome. So his spirit does tell us things. And it's not with bells and whistles like you see in the movie. You see this bling and there it is. It's not like that. There's no bling or bell or whistle. It's simply impartation. You know what I'm talking about, right, Brother Scala?
It's a small, still voice. It's very, if you're not listening for it, and pass it up. Many times I tell people, with what you're describing, I tell people, it's kind of, for me, I'm like the wire. All I do, I don't have any power of my own. Just like the wire in your house, it doesn't have any power of its own. It has to get its power somewhere else. And the power is the generator. Well, in my example is, I'm like the wire, and God is the generator. So it just flows through me. I just happen to be a vehicle that he is using at that particular time. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, awesome, brother. That's a very good analogy. Yeah, we're like the wire.
That's my electrical part of me coming out.
Yeah, awesome, brother. Yeah, and So we're the wire, or the conduit, or the wire, or whatever. Right. And then the generator is God, and the load is whoever receives. In other words, if you need, go ahead, brother.
No, I'm saying correct. That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you need healing and Brother Rascala lays hands on you and the plug of power of God flows, you believe you received your healing, it manifests in your body. So God is the one that did it, but he needs people, he needs wires, he needs people to participate. He needs partners or sons to cooperate with him. And then he needs people ready to receive, because almost everything from God is received by faith. There is a few times I've seen God work apart from faith in the person. In other words, God is a supreme being. He can work even there's no faith or very little faith there. But he generally works as people believe, so they receive. And you'll see that in Jesus' ministry. If you read the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John very carefully, you'll see over and over, he generally... generally people receive according to their faith, and he said that a lot. According to your faith be it unto you, as you believe, so you receive. And he said, do you believe I can do this? And so on. So you see that power of faith, the power of believing a lot. And that believing can manifest into the physical solution, the physical substance, even including food. Jesus multiplied the food. Here in our ministry, we've seen food multiplied more than once. Teleportation. There were times Jesus just passed right through a huge crowd that was trying to kill him, and that's either intangibility or teleportation. One, it doesn't say which. And then most people believe that, and the evidence looks like when I think it was Stephen. Is it Stephen that went to the Ethiopian eunuch and taught the gospel? It was somebody.
I think that's who it was.
Yeah, I think that's who it was. But anyway, it was one of the early brothers. I don't think he was even an apostle. It was just one of the early brothers, and actually in other words, evidence looks like he was teleported a great distance in order to get somebody saved. And to this reason, and to this year, to this date, Ethiopia. That happened, thousands of years ago, 2,000 years ago or so in the Bible, the book of Acts. I think it was Stephen. Yeah, it was teleported. And of course, Jesus appeared and disappeared in their midst also, so he was teleported with a body because he said, handle me, we have a body. So anyway, all that is possible and doable. And I've seen it here in this ministry. We've seen food multiplied. We've seen teleportation take place, usually to save somebody's life or sometimes just to save a lot of hassle. The Lord has done that for us. And he can do anything if people can believe it. If you can believe it, he can do it. And that's the power of God. So anyway, the message is to get ready for World War III. It's going to end in nukes, and there also be hopeful that the rapture that you qualify. He said there's basically three things to qualify, and this is in Revelation. He gave me a scripture. I think it's Revelation chapter 2, verse 3, where it talks about. Basically, if you're watching, you will know the time. If you're alert and you're watching, you will know the time. It says if you're not watching, you will not know the time. Is actually what it says. But people don't understand English well enough to realize that the two negatives cancel each other in that sentence. So basically, you can translate that. If you are watching, you will know the time. And so there are a few people that are watching for him. And when he says watching, it's a very active word. It's not just sitting there watching. It's, busy serving him. So I'd say the three basic qualifications, of course, is to love the Lord with all your heart, be busy serving him. We're going to put those two together because they're both about love. And be watching at the right time, which is basically either just before the war or just before the nukes. The only other time frame it could fit from what he told me would be just before the meteors hit. It's sometime after the war. I don't know how much after. I think it's after. There's going to be some huge meteors hit the earth. At least one huge meteor hits the earth. And he showed me that in a vision. He showed that to John the Revelator in the Revelations in a vision also. You can read about that in the book of Revelations. He showed that same event. And that's pretty earth-shaking, literally. I believe that's the great earthquake, that not one wall will stand. So it could be that that's what Jesus was referring to me when he said, just before the worst shall come. He said, I shall return and call my own unto myself before the worst shall come. Not just before, but before. He didn't have the word just. So just before. So before the worst shall come. So anyway, I'm not sure exactly when he's referring to, but at one point he also told me there's 3 raptors to come. He said people think there's only one. He said, and he gave me scriptures for all 3. And it does fit, and that's why you got the vast majority of Christians that believe in the rapture will either believe in the pre-tribulation rapture or the mid-tribulation rapture or the post-tribulation rapture. And the truth is, according to what Jesus told me in the vision, the truth is there's all 3. But the first one's going to be very small, he said, and the least number of people. The second one will be bigger, and the third one will be the biggest. And the third one includes not just good people, but bad people. And he showed me a number of scriptures, and you can research this out. You'll see parables where it says a dragnet, the kingdom of God is like a dragnet that was thrown into the waters, and every sort of fish was caught, both clean and unclean, and they were separated out. In that same chapter, or within a chapter of that, forward or backward, it talks about 2 other parables about the good and the bad being caught up and being separated, and the bad thrown in the trash, and the good, into their reward. So that's basically the last rapture is both good and bad. And I guess the medium level people, which I think there will be, won't receive a rapture in the last. He didn't go into detail on that particular point, but that's what it looks like to me. And the good receive some kind of reward, and the last receive, judgment, basically, which says thrown into the darkness. One scripture says thrown into the darkness. Another says thrown into the fire. Another says Satan will be bound. So it's not just humans, but it's the spirits as well. This last rapture, Satan and his bunch of unclean spirits will be bound for 1,000 years and thrown into the darkness of the abyss, what's called the abyss, or the bottomless pit in translating Revelation there. So that's all coming. I think within 14 years, all this can come to pass. And most people think the tribulation only lasts 7 years. But I do not see that in the scripture. I have not seen evidence for that in scripture, but maybe it is only 7 years. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes in your theology. I'm just telling you what the Lord told me, what showed me. He didn't say how long it would be, but I do believe it's going to be at least 3.5 years, and maybe as long the tribulation. Now the war, I think, is only going to be 6 months to a year, because he said it'd be a short war, a short world war, and the previous world wars were 4 years roughly. Officially, unofficially. So I'm thinking this one, officially or unofficially, will be 1 year or maybe 2 years tops, but maybe only as little as 6 months. I'm hoping for less, 3 months, or 1 month. That's what I'm hoping for. Shorter the better, get it over with. But anyway, so be looking for him all the time. Everybody out there, be looking for him all the time. And now to help you survive, in the meantime, until we get raptured, and again, when we get raptured, I'm not sure we're going to be gone very long. We are going to get changed bodies. I wouldn't be surprised if we're with the Lord in His time, or in spirit time, or in time dilation fields for 1,000 years we could be there, or 7 years we could be there. But when we come back, it may only be 5 or 10 minutes. I have talked with people who have been caught up to be with the Lord in heaven, and one guy in hell, actually. So, there's people that go to these other realms of heaven and hell, and they're there for a very long time, and then they come back here. And one guy said he felt like he was in hell for 1,000 years. Another guy told me he was sure he was in heaven for at least 6 months, maybe a year and 6 months, like that. And then when he came back here, both of them, the guy that was in heaven for a year and 6 months, he was only really gone for about 20 minutes. And the guy that was in hell for 1,000 years, burning in hellfire for 1,000 years, when he came back, he'd only been dead for 2 days. Time passes differently on the other side. God can dilate time either way. He can speed it up or slow it down. And that's why the scripture says a day to the Lord is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as a day. Did you want to say something, Brother Martin? Brother Brickella?
No, I'm just listening to what you have to say. You faded out a little bit towards the end of that last statement. You were talking about 1,000 days unto the Lord is like a day unto, or a day unto us is like, I got it backwards. 1,000 days to us is like a day unto the Lord.
Yeah, he says, actually, the scripture says 1,000 years.
Oh, 1,000 years.
A day to the Lord, and a day is as 1,000 years to the Lord. That means he can dilate time. See, modern physics understands time dilation, and we can do it. And at our ministry, we've done it with scientific equipment. We can dilate time 10,000 to 1, and so God can dilate time 10,000 to 1, forward or backwards. And that's basically what goes on a lot of times when you're taken out of your body in these visions, or if you're dead. Time will dilate huge in the other dimension, the spirit realm, you want to call it that, or heaven or hell, or wherever you happen to be. Again, the spirit realm exists right here simultaneously on the earth as well. Actually, there's evidence that there is no such thing as space, that it's simply an illusion that we experience. Space and time are simply illusions. Einstein said something to that effect.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep. I recall that.
Yeah, and then famous people like Stephen Hawkins, scientists and so on. And another one was Elon Musk recently said very similar things. I think it was Elon that said chances of this not being a simulation of some kind are so small as to be non-existent, basically. So he's like, sure, this is a simulation. This particular reality that we believe we exist in is a simulation of some kind. That's according to Elon Musk. I tend to believe these things have some merit. And Einstein said it's a simulation or illusion, but a persistent illusion. It's this reality was created by God, and we live here. But there are other realities that He allows us to experience as we press in and seek Him with all of our heart and love Him with all of our heart. I think the biggest thing is loving God with all of our heart. That's where most of us miss it, and I've missed it in the past myself. We could definitely experience a lot more from God if we seek Him, press in with love, the love of God, the God kind of love.
So one of the things that you say to me that impresses me is you believe that the closer that someone gets to God, the more advanced their knowledge becomes. Advanced in many arenas, but advanced in this particular example with regards to healing and the ability to make something that weighs a lot, weigh nothing, be able to make generators that don't utilize fuel as what we know as fuel. That's pretty high technology to me. I don't know of anybody other than you guys that prior to meeting you, I didn't know anybody. Now, there's some people that have come out since then making some claims, but none of it has been verified as much as your work has been verified by a variety of different people. I'm one of them. I have personally witnessed some of the stuff that they do, and it's mind-boggling because I am, like I gave you the example earlier about the wire and God being the generator. I've been in electric circuits for, I can't tell you, for at least 25 years, working on electromechanical circuits, and even longer than that. When I was a kid growing up, they had these things called Heath kits. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, it was literally kits that you build different things. And one of the things I built was a television set. Of course, it was in a kit form. It was a kit form. They told you this resistor went here, and that capacitor went there, and this coil went here. But it was in a kit form, and it took me quite some time. It took me probably 4 months to get it all done. So anyway, the reason why I'm telling you what I'm telling you is that I've had some degree of training in electric circuits and electronics. And what I saw at one of the labs, Witt's Labs, defied everything that I've ever been taught. It just blew it completely out of the water to see what I saw. I'm not the only one. There are other people who are very fluent in electrical circuits and understanding and what they do and they don't, and have agreed that what they're seeing is what you are in fact seeing in the video. For example, there's a generator that doesn't use fuel. It runs itself, and then it generates so much electricity that it has an excess of electricity that can be used to run other things, lights, fans, whatever, Theory says that's not possible. Everything I was taught coming through the electronics and the electrical circuits and things of that nature, I was always taught that whatever it takes to make, it takes more to make it than you can get back out of it again, that it's impossible. This is what we were taught. It is impossible to have something to generate more than what it uses. For example, to have in this example here, a generator that would generate so much electricity that it could go, that you could route some of the electricity back to the generator to run the generator, and still have such an abundant amount of electricity that you could run a house if you wanted. These things would not be very large. You could be completely independent of the grid, and this has been purposely suppressed by the government, and they have been warned by the government. Now, from what I understand, they're more lenient now than they've ever been before, but still very suppressed, right?
Yes. So, along that lines, everybody's encouraged to watch the videos at YouTube. It's WITS 2014, if you can write that down, WITS 2014. And then, of course, there's also a main website, which is wits.ws, and that's WITS. The website has two T's, WITTS.ws. And everybody's invited to watch the videos. You'll see a lot of technology at the YouTube channel. There's 58 videos, all of them about 10 minutes or less, just about all of them, maybe a few, a little more, but 58 videos showing different technologies. Now, the exciting thing is we have a technology available on the GIFts page now that runs generators on water. We modify generators and ship them out to people, and they run 100% on clean water. I say clean water. You can use rainwater as long as it's not collected in a city. If you're in a city where there's a lot of air pollution, then you don't want to use rainwater. You'd want to use distilled water. But you could also use the generator to distill water. You can buy a water distiller, and it'll distill a gallon of water for in an hour, something like that, and run on about 700 watts of power, which the generator we're offering is a 10 kW. It's I think it's rated continuous running at around 8,500 or somewhere in that ballpark range, and peak 12,000. That's the one we're offering. And it is on the gifts page. If you want to find it, what you should do is go to the website wits.ws and look on the top where all the different pages are listed, and find the one that says gifts, GIFTS, gifts. Click on that and go to the legacy gifts. There'll be two gifts. There's one for, it's a basic gifts page. It doesn't have a lot on it. And if you want the full gifts page, go to the legacy gifts page. Probably should say full gifts page instead of legacy, but that's what it says. And all those gifts are available on the legacy gifts page. And there's other types of generators and so on, but that one is the most affordable. And it will help people survive because, like I say, rainwater still happens. You can distill your own water with this system. To make it kosher, we talk about putting a solar panel on it. I don't know for sure we always will, but at least that's what we're doing now, putting a solar panel on it to people to get one. And these will easily run one house. If you're, unless your house is huge or you have a lot of stuff. It's basically 8 kW, 8,000 watts is what that 8 kW stands for. That's continuous. It's either 8 or 8.5. I forget. I could Google it, I suppose, and see because we're using a standard generator. It produces basically we're modifying a standard generator to run on water. And the water, it'll go a long time. It'll go about 3 days on a cup of water, depending on how much you use it. But so basically, you can distill enough water to run a week easily in about an hour with a simple water distiller. There's also ways to make distilled water off your engine. In other words, the heat of the engine. You can look up YouTube videos how to make your own distiller, and it'll work like that too. So you can take any water and distill it, and you can use it for running your generator, running your power needs when the grid goes down. The grid is going to go down. That's another thing the Lord told me. The grid in most of the United States, maybe all the United States, and Europe as well, is going to go down, and it probably won't be coming back, at least not as we know it. So electricity will be going off sometime, probably within a year from now, and it will not be coming back. So everybody needs to have their own generator if you want electricity. If you're okay to live without electricity, well then, that's fine. Or, you can buy solar panels too, and that's another alternative energy source. Windmills are another alternative energy source. The downside with solar panel and windmills, solar panels quickly, my testing shows within a year or 2 years, they're putting out 1/10 of what they're supposed to put out. And also, the sun doesn't shine all the time, and so nighttime, at night you need power, and your batteries are junk. Most batteries are making nowadays. So anyway, we're making a nice quality water-powered generator that should last for years and years, and you can call it hydrogen if you want. HHO is what's usually termed when you make water into a combustible fuel. You mix that with air. Air is really what's combusting in your engine. Your engine and your car, you think it runs on gasoline? It really runs on air. You're just adding something to help air combust. And basically with our systems, the air combusts with a lot less additive, and therefore, you can get significantly over unity. Typically, our systems, less than 10% of the power out of the generator is coming back to run the generator. So, and run the electrolyzer that runs the generator, if you want to say it that way. The air is the main source of fuel, but most generators are polluting the air because everything comes toxic, whereas this one, because it runs on water, you can run it right in the house if you don't mind the noise, or run it in your basement, or build a soundproof box for it, and you can put a better muffler on it if you want and make it more soundproof. But anyway, it's not too noisy the way it is, but obviously anything can be improved. And the nice thing is it'll bless a lot of people when the grid goes down. It saves a lot of lives. So now's the time to prepare. You got about 3 months left. Today's the big eclipse, which is part of the signs. The Lord gave me many signs, and the eclipse is one of them. Another sign, if you're interested in signs, is the constellation alignment, the planetary alignment, and so on, that it talks about in constellation and planets. Talks about in Revelation chapter 12. You read the whole chapter. you'll see that there are the three groups of people. The first raptor, second raptor, and the third group is all there. It's worth looking at for sure. But anyway, the point being that this alignment, it talks about the planets being in a certain place. And the woman in heaven, he's referring to what we nowadays call Virgo, the constellation Virgin, if you want to call it that. But it's not a virgin. It's a woman in heaven. He describes, the Apostle John describes it as a woman in heaven, and how the 12 stars would be a crown on her forehead. No internet connection. What happened here? Close. Are you still there, Brother Martin? Brother?
Yep, I'm still here.
Oh, for some reason it tells me I have no internet connection yet. I'm still connected.
Hot dog.
What's that?
I said hot dog. It's great. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
I don't know what's happening, but it's all good. So, anyway, okay. So yeah, that great sign, Revelation chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, that great sign, everyone should look at it. And there's many YouTube videos on it. It's actually repeating itself. They said it would never repeat itself. Very similar sign is happening now. And it'll be ending in September. The birthing will be September, the birthing of this male child. It will rule all the nations with a rod of iron. Again, Revelation has a little bit of symbolicness to it, but there's literalness to it as well. So look it up. You can even Google Great Sign of Revelation 12 date. You can type that in, Great Sign of Revelation 12 date, and it'll come right up September 2017. That was the first time it showed up. Never showed up before, never showed up after, but the similar sign is showing up now. And 3 years later, it fits the description of the sign as well. It's slightly different, but to me, it's like driving down a freeway, and you see a sign that says, we'll name a city just so people understand it. We'll name a city that says Miami, next exit, or next 5 exits, whatever. And then you drive another mile or so, or half mile, and it says Miami, exit here. So you see the very similar sign, and then there's an exit. Right after that second sign, There's an exit. Maybe 100 feet after the second sign, or 5 feet after the second sign, or 10 feet after the second sign. And there's an exit, and so it's similar to this great sign that God pointed us to look at. Didn't happen. John forecasted it or prophesied it because he got a vision back 2,000 years ago, or whatever you want to believe on that timing, but it's definitely 1,000 years ago or longer. And basically, if you read Revelation 12, it even says it twice. And so now it's showing up twice. Basically, that sign never showed up at all for 2,000 years, or even the 4,000 years previous that man was here, as far back as you can look, it never showed up. That same sign, or even a similar sign. But now you have 2 similar signs within a 3-year period, and you can run the projections forward, and you see nothing like it again in the next 10,000 years. These computer programs we got will go forward and backwards, no problem, and you can look and you can see. But we got the same sign showing up twice within a 3-year period, exactly 3 years apart, and it's pretty significant. Very, very significant.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. The number of people done YouTube videos on it, so feel free to look for them and watch them, and it's quite astounding, quite astounding. Great sign. That could be translated as extremely rare sign. This great sign. It is a great sign. And the dragon also showed up on the first one. There was a sign in heaven that nobody knew what it was. Google actually blocked it out for a period of time, and then finally somebody pulled it up, was able to look at it, and it looked sort of like a dragon's face. Right after the 2017 showing up, and the Revelation talks about the other sign of this great dragon in heaven. So I suspect that one might show up again as well, right after the September date. There's many other reasons I believe this September, 3 months from now, will be very significant. I could go into that if you want me to, Brother Scala.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of them is, when the Lord appeared to me and told me this, was the year 2000, September. He said 20 years from now. And he said the year 2020. And so that makes me think September, because it happened in September. And then I also did research because for a long time, no one else said anything like this. Actually, until the trouble started with the lockdown in America, and almost 1/3 of the world or 1/2 of the world went into lockdown. This crazy coronavirus scam. Nobody, I couldn't find anybody else that was saying war this year. But then after that happened, I found a few other prophets. Because the Lord told me when He told me this in 2000, I told him, I said, you got the wrong guy. I said, people don't listen to me. Hardly anybody listens. And he said, and he laughed just like you did, Brother Scott. And he said, Noah told me the same thing, and Moses told me the same thing. That's what he said.
That's who I was thinking of. But Lord, I can't speak. I don't know how to talk, God. I can't believe that you're asking me to do this. No way. I remember reading that in the Bible.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was saying I remember reading about that story in the Bible where Moses wasn't very articulate. He wasn't a speaker per se.
Right. And of course, God helped him out, sent the right people to help him, and primarily his older brother Aaron, came to help him speak and address the people and get in with the right groups in the Jewish people, Jewish religion, Jewish group, basically servant group for Egypt at that time. But it also was able to get in with the talk to the king and so on, the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh. But anyway, the point is, God makes a way, and there's another story that I'd like to relate regarding Noah, because after the Lord told me that, I looked up Noah and I looked up Moses, and sure enough, there's evidence that both of them told God they got the wrong guy. But Jesus did tell me He's been talking to other people about it, and He'll continue to talk to other people about it. So I'm not the only one that had the message to tell people about 2020. And so I did start researching that thoroughly. And at first I couldn't find anybody. And back about a year ago, I finally started finding a few people historically. And one of them was Kenneth E. Hagin. And the Lord said that this big war would happen and lots of people would die, and that He would return and call his own unto Himself before the worst would come. And so He said this to Kenneth E. Hagin 70 years. It'll be exactly 70 years in September, and 70 years ago, so 1950. And I didn't know about this, and the Lord didn't tell me Kenneth Hagin, personally. I didn't know Kenneth Hagin had any prophecies for the future. But anyway, so I studied that, and I looked for something that indicated a date. And the Lord said to Kenneth Hagin, and that's what Brother Hagin wrote down, is that as I told Noah, 7 days, so I'm telling you it'll be 7 times until these things begin. And until these things happen, I forget which. So 7 times. Well, Kenneth Hagin says, well, I thought that meant 7 days. So he thought we had 7 days left back in 1950. World War III was going to start. And it didn't happen in 7 days. And it didn't happen in 7 weeks. He's thinking, well, maybe 7 weeks. Well, he's thinking maybe 7 months. Well, then he's thinking maybe 7 years. Didn't happen in 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, or 7 years. And so then when he wrote the book, I Believe in Visions, he said, well, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen, and so 7, you got to think about it, 7 times. That could be 7 groups of 7 years. It could be 7 groups of 10 years, 7 decades. And historically, I did a Bible search to see, and sure enough, 7 decades is very common in the Bible, 70 years. People were in exile 70 years. There's many different 70-year periods in the Bible. So then I got to think, well, he told other people besides Brother Hagin. So I kept researching. And just recently, again, I found other people. I found a guy that got it, Brother Hagin got it 70 years in advance. Another guy got it 60 years in advance. Another guy got it 50 years in advance. Another guy got it 40 years in advance. And now the 40 year in advance, his name is Randy something, and he has a website called Rprs2020.com. So I encourage everyone to go look at that. That's the URL, Rprs2020.com. And he got 40 years, exactly 40 years in advance. I mean, every one of these guys in September. And then I found another one got exactly 30 years in advance. And I got another one that got exactly 20 years in advance. That was me, the 20-year in advance guy. And then I could not find the one for the life of me that got a 10-year in advance. But obviously there's a countdown going on. There's 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, and 10. And I can't find him, but I'm sure he's there. There's a lot of people got messages in the last 20 years, but too many to sort through, basically. But anyway, it's exciting stuff. So there is a countdown going on, and it counts right out till September. So 6 out of the 7 I was able to locate and find their writings, and every one of them had that vision in September, every single one of them. So the countdown is on. September is, I'll be very surprised if the war isn't obvious to everybody by September, World War III. I honestly think if you want me to, let me tell that story about Noah. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so I used to do a huge amount of reading. When I was a teenager, 11, 12, 13, in that range, I used to study huge amounts of books. Every day I would read. It wasn't uncommon for me to read 30 books a day, every day, complete books, 200 pages, 400 pages, like that. It's all kinds of stuff. And I kept asking the Lord, he gave Solomon wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And I kept asking the Lord, please give me wisdom and knowledge and understanding so I can help your people. And one day, all of a sudden, I'd pick up a new book I never had before, and I'd know everything in that book. I'd know what it said on every page and everything. And sure enough, I'd open a page 100, and I knew exactly what was all there, before I opened it. And I did that with all the books in the whole library. I did it with every book I can get my hands on. So all of a sudden, I realized, hey, I don't have to study anymore. I already know everything, and that was God. That's called the Word of Knowledge. It was a beautiful gift the Lord gave me. I still have it to some degree. But it's rested on me until I finished college, which was probably 10 years later. And then I don't use it that much after that. So other than telling people they're, a life reading for their future or whatever, I don't use. But for a long time, people tested me on this. They could pick up any book and out of the library anywhere, and they could ask me, what's on page 102? And I could read it. I'd close my eyes. I could read it to them, and I could tell them everything in there. So am I getting choppy, or are you hearing me okay? I think I'm gone. Am I lost? I'm not hearing you. I may have to reinitiate.
I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, you heard me good the whole time?
Oh, yeah. I heard you.
Okay, you were gone for a minute. Okay, so anyway, I want to tell people about a book I read back in that same time period when I used to read 100 books a day, 30 to 100 books a day, every day. A book I read was called The Real History, or The History of Noah and His Family. I believe that's what it was called. And it was translated from Hebrew into English. And it was an ancient book. And, I looked at the forward, the beginning, and copyright and all that. And it was an ancient book that had been translated. And people, the translator believed, I could tell, he believed that it was written by Noah. And it had an interesting story in there, which I'll share if we have time.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. The story is that Noah, preacher of righteousness, he had a congregation. It predates Judaism, what we call Judaism. That was pretty much set up under Mosaic law. But anyway, he had a congregation before the flood of Noah's day. He had a congregation, and there were about 5,000 people in his congregation, something like that. I don't remember if it's 5,000 or 1,500, because it's been many, many years since I read that book. I'm almost 60 now, and I was like probably 12 when I read that book, 13 years old when I read that book. And I was always interested in anything to do with the Bible and history and real history and so on. And anyway, it said in there that he was a preacher of righteousness. He had a big congregation, 5,000 to 1,500. I don't remember. The number was in there. And he told them all it was going to rain, and he invited them all to come into the ark, and just about all of them showed up. But he thought it would be a certain date, and it didn't happen that date. And so after a few days, most of them started going home, and again, it was almost impossible to fit them all in there. That's another comment that was in that story, because there were so many. And I'm not saying this is history, but I'm saying this is an old book, so it could be actual history. It could be actual history, and I don't know if you can find it or not. I haven't looked for it, since then, but I did come across it in a public library when I was a young man, about 11, 12 years old. Anyway, so anyways, the story is they all went home and they got discouraged, and so his congregation got smaller and significantly smaller. And then after a few weeks or months went by, he again felt like the Lord was telling him a certain date, and so he told everybody this date, and again everybody's invited to come, and this time only 50 people showed up to get in the ark. About 50, I think it was 53 or something like this. And so only 3 or 4 families, 5 families, 10 families. And they had no problem getting him in the ark, and they waited and waited, and the flood didn't come. And so all of them went home. And so then again, his congregation just shrank tremendously. And it went on for a while, and then the third time, the Lord appeared. It was to him and told him, 7 days, it's going to come. And he didn't have an appearance from the Lord before. He was just following that leading, that anointing that he had as a prophet of God. But he was mistaken the first two times, or for some reason. But anyway, the third time, only people who showed up were his three sons and their wives. Three of his sons, according to that book, he had many sons, and he was 500 years old, so he may have had many sons and grandsons and great grandsons and all that. None of them showed up. None of them showed up except for his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, those three, and their wives, and that was it. No children. No children showed up at all, and nobody with children. So everybody thought he was crazy. Everybody thought he's in that case. He's wrong twice in a row. And the third time, they thought for sure he's wrong. And then, by the way, the guy at Rapture 2020, Randy somebody, he says a similar thing. He says, I was wrong twice before. He says, but I'm going to be right this time.
Third time's a charm.
And who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying what I've seen, all the evidence I've seen, and I firmly believe that the war is starting this year. You could say it already started if you want. There's Seattle now. I understand has a country inside the city of Seattle. Another country.
It's insanity. It's insanity.
Yeah, crazy stuff like this. Of course, that London, England, also has a country inside the country. There's a country of London inside the city of London, and you can look this up. We played YouTube videos on it, and there's a number of crazy things going on, insanity, if you want to say, going on worldwide, and it'll continue. But anyway, it'll be a war, as Jesus described. Many, many, many people will die in this war, and it's unfortunate, but it's not God doing it. God is just telling the future. The Scripture says He doesn't do anything except He lets His servants, the prophets, know about it first. I don't consider myself a prophet, but I consider myself a servant. And so He lets us know, and those watching, and actually Revelation chapter 3, or I think it's chapter 2 or chapter 3, verse 2 or verse 3. You can look at both of them, and it says that he, if you're watching, you will know the time. I think it says the day is what I think it says. And so, I think the day is September 20th, actually, 3 months exactly from now. I'm a day ahead because I'm over here overseas, and it's already Sunday here. It's already the 21st here. But anyway, so 21st, 3 months from now, or 20th, I think, 3 months from now. Anyway, I believe we'll see. But I'm ready anytime, and I hope all the listeners get ready, get right with God, get busy serving Him, be repentant always, be seeking Him always, and be ready because He's coming as a thief in the night. This first rapture is called the thief in the night, or you could say the first one. See, the idea of three raptures blew my mind. And he said, surely he said, there was three raptures in the past, and there's three raptures to come. And I said, what? Three raptures in the past? And he said, yeah. He said, Enoch, Elijah, and myself. And I said, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then he said the three to come. He said the thief in the night rapture, the first one. He said nobody's going to be expecting it. He said, I told my own followers, the 12 apostles. He said, it'll come at a time you think it not likely. And he gave me the scripture, and you can look this up. A time you think it least likely is when it's going to happen. So the thief in the night rapture is coming. Very few Christians are awake to it. And I've listened to everybody else out there teaching, all the big names. None of them have the prophecies to match this one. Again, the only people I could find were the guy at 70 years ago, the brother at 60 years ago, the brother at 50, the brother at 40, the brother at 30, the brother at 20. And that's about it. There's one other brother nowadays that I consider to be a prophet. His name Tracy something. And he said there would be war this year. He also got the virus scamdemic correctly predicted as well. But he didn't say World War III. He didn't mention rapture or nothing. But so most of them don't have any idea that the Great Tribulation is starting this year, the Great Tribulation. And, whether you believe it lasts 7 years or 3 years or 10 years is irrelevant because it's going to last whatever it lasts. And we know that the Lord's coming back at the very end when everybody's seeking God with all their heart because even they don't know God, they're just seeking a higher power to save them because the world would be such a mess. It says, unless He intervenes at the very end, no flesh would survive. But on account of the chosen, He will intervene. So some of the chosen, there's three groups of chosen There's the ones that go first. Well, I say first. They're not really first. The first were the three I just mentioned, but in other words, past. But in the future, the first is this year, I believe. It's very soon. I'll just say it that way. Pre-tribulation, if you want to call it pre, or at the beginning of the tribulation, the mid-tribulation, and the ending tribulation. That's what he told me. And I think most Christians, it's going to offend people. I'm stepping on religious toes, but it's like Brother Riscala says, it's not about religion, it's about relationship. Am I right, Brother Riscala?
Amen. It's not about religion. I got turned off to religion many, many years ago. I wanted to mention, I wanted to ask you, does the name Carol Rosin, is that familiar to you?
It seems vaguely familiar, but I'm not sure. I can't place her.
She happens to be an online friend of mine. She was the assistant to von Braun, Warner von Braun.
Yeah.
She told me one of the things that he repeatedly told her over and over again. He told her about all the different plans that the Illuminati, the Cabal, the Deep State, the Dark Side, whatever you want to call them, these evil people. He had told her much of the plans that they had in store for us, and one of them, she said, he kept telling me over and over again, watch out for the fake alien invasion. Now, you mentioned about the rapture, and we've had this discussion not on this show, but on the show that you do every Wednesday night, where, and I believe the same, that God is an extraterrestrial. It may not be like the gray kind of extraterrestrial, but he's not of this world. He is out of this world, so that would make him an extraterrestrial. My concern in what she kept saying, I think about, there's a place in Revelations where it says at the end, even the very elite, and I'm paraphrasing, and the very elite are going to be deceived. What if this alien fake invasion is they start telling people this is God coming back for the rapture?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You want me to comment on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of believe, now the Lord didn't show me all this, but I kind of believe that what I have seen is we've been helping the secret cities, and people call them, deep underground military bases, but the problem with that terminology is not all of them underground. Almost all of them have a presence on the surface as well. But anyway, the secret cities, I call them secret cities, military installations, super rich hideaways. We've been selling them or doing business deals with them for 200 years, advanced technologies. And so they have anti-gravity craft of all kinds. And the military's, the Space Force is not the first Space Force, let's say it that way. They're not the first military group that's in space. There's been multiples. We've been building ships for 200 years. 1890s when we built the first anti-gravity craft for the super rich, and they've been going to the moon and Mars in the 1890s and ever since. And
wait, hang on a minute, because you just said something that a lot of people are going to just blow people's minds.
Yeah.
What this man is telling you, remember that I have said many times on this show, we have been deceived on many levels. I've also said many times on this show, there is technology that could help us tremendously, but is purposely being withheld from us for a variety of reasons. This is what he's talking about. This has been going on for a long time. The ability for us to go other places has been going on for a long time. What's happened is that over time, they've only been able to, it's kind of sort of like a pressure pot, if you will. They've been able to hold the pressure in and let a little bit out here and there and a little bit out, here and there again, and keep the pressure pot pretty much in check. But as time has progressed, and with the intro of the internet and literally a world of information at your fingertips, much of this information has been released. And
yes.
So now you hear talk about, well, yeah, Musk wants to go to Mars, and he wants to build this, and it's been done. It's already been done. is what I'm trying to tell you. This ministry has been directly involved in doing things of this nature. When I tell you that this man teaches advanced technology, that he has the capacity of doing things that will blow your mind. It blew my mind what I saw. It went against everything that I was taught for years and years and years. I guess the easiest way I can put it to you is that when it comes to advanced technologies, this man has proven himself to me personally. I've seen the technology that they have. I've seen something that if I showed it to somebody else who's in the same field as me would say, even if when I tell it to other people who are in the same field as me, they say it's impossible. That's not that. No, that I don't. He had something hitting him somewhere. I saw it. I touched it. It was my own eyes. There wasn't anything hidden. It was all on the open, and the way it worked against what I. Yeah, I'll just tell you a small piece of this one particular circuit that I saw. Everything that I have been taught tells me that rubber or vinyl, when you go get a piece of wire, it typically has some kind of a sort of plastic covering over it. It could be vinyl, it could be rubber, it could be a variety of different things. But the purpose of that is to act as an insulator so that the wire, if you touch it, it doesn't shock you, okay? I have never seen, until I saw the circuit, and I've never ever seen again, any circuit that utilized what we would know as an insulator for a conductor. That's like saying, I'm going to put the fire out with gasoline. It doesn't make sense. But I saw it, I touched it, I felt it. There was a rubber hose as part of the circuit. A rubber hose if you talk to anybody who's in the electrical industry and you say to them, would a rubber hose act as an insulator? I would tell you 100 out of 100 people would tell you immediately, yes, absolutely a rubber hose is an insulator. How in the world this insulator became a conductor, I have no idea. But I do know that this man has the technology and the skill and the mindset to be able to do that. It goes against everything I've been taught. But yet he's able to do that. So when he comes across with a message that he feels God has told him, this is why I said to you early on, don't take what he says lightly. I would take everything he says very, very seriously. And I always tell you people, check it out. If he's telling you to go to Google and look something up, go look it up. You'll find he's accurate. He knows what he's talking about. But this idea of him telling you that 100 years ago that we went to the moon and we went to Mars, people go, oh, we know that's the bull. That's BS. It's not. It's real. The reason that it sounds so crazy to you is because you have been deceived. We've all been deceived. That's one of the first realizations that I came to was about religion. How religion was being used to control people, how it was introduced into the masses so that they could control them, control the way they think, control the way they act, how they get a response out of people. That, to me, it took me a long time to realize that's not what God made us free. Right? Am I right, Sir T?
Yes, absolutely.
We were given free will. And how can you have free will when you have another human being telling you, well, you need to do this? When you come into my place of worship, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to face a certain way, you have to kneel, you have to touch a certain part of your body. That's not free. That, to me, all that was just a way to control people and say, okay, they're doing what I want them to do. God wants you to be free and express yourself in a free manner. The greatest times that I had in worship is when we worshiped freely, when we were just singing. We didn't. You couldn't pay people if you recorded that recording to take it and listen to it. To you and me, it sounded horrible. To God, it was like I can't even describe, because the love that we got in return was unbelievable. So when we were worshiping freely with God is when I've had the greatest experiences with feeling God right there amongst us. But when you're trying to worship and somebody's telling you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do the other, you're restricted in your movements and your ability to be able to receive. So it's all about freedom. So anyway, I'm sorry I didn't get off on a different tangent, but yeah, the moon and the Mars, WITS Technology has been involved in that for a very long time.
Yeah. So back to what I think is going on with the September is these advanced crafts that we've been building. They have invisibility, what we would call optical invisibility capability, extremely well camouflage, if you want to say that way, extremely developed camouflage. Whatever the sky is projected on the bottom of the craft, and it blends in perfectly, virtually perfectly. Sometimes you can see things, especially with the right, temperature sensitive cameras and equipment and so on. You can see things. But anyway, these ships are parked over all the big cities and have been for about 10 years. And I wondered when I first found out about that about 10 years ago, I was wondering what in the world are these ships doing there? They've probably been there for 15 years or 20 years. Why is the military of the world, the elite military of the world, the super rich, why are they having ships parked over all the big cities? And I prayed about it, and the Lord said, intuitively in my spirit, by the word of knowledge, He said that basically they're getting ready for the rapture. And I said, what? Dark side military getting ready for the rapture? He said, yeah, they're planning to capture everybody they can, both the angels coming down to get people and the people with the changed bodies going up. And not only that, but they're planning a fake alien invasion simultaneous with the rapture to cover up the fact that many people will be gone from this earth. And I said, well, what's that fake alien invasion? What are they going to do? Well, they're going to decloak, and they're going to start zapping people and burn them up on the ground at random. Burn people up, nothing left but their shoes, or, some people survive, obviously, to tell the story. Other people see so-and-so get burned up. So the fake rapture is going to go on, what they're planning to do and going to try to do is going to go on simultaneous with the real rapture. Now, they may decide to do a test run a month ahead of time. That may start tomorrow, for all I know. They may do a decloaking and just to get everybody afraid of the real rapture. It wouldn't surprise me in the least that they do 2 or 3 times in advance, or 2 or 3 times after, or every week. Who knows? But simultaneous with the rapture is the main event for them, and they're going to capture as many people as they can. Now, whether they can capture anybody with a changed body, I don't know. I don't know if they have the technology, the skill, or whatever it takes to interfere with what God is doing. But, they're going to try. And the dark side is, they are crafty. I'll give them that. If there's a way for them to monopolize on something, they will. And that's what they're up to. They want genetic samples. They want DNA. They want, anything they can get to help build their armies, their arsenals, or whatever.
They want to build what we would consider a super race of slaves, basically. They want 500 million of us left on the planet. Now, depending upon who you talk to, the estimates run anywhere from 7 billion to 9 billion people on the planet. So let me break that down. They want to leave 500 million left. So if we break it down into millions, if we just use the smaller amount, 7 billion, that would be 7,000 millions would be 7 billion. They want to reduce that number, 7,000 millions, to 500. That's what they want to reduce. That's how much. That's like 9 out of 10 people they want to get rid of. And they're very serious about what they're talking about. They've engraved it in stone in 11 or 12 different languages. It's known as the Georgia Guidestones. These people are very serious, and sadly, not only are they very serious, they have the wherewithal to be able to do it. They have an endless amount of financial wealth and power and influence that they can do this. That's the bothersome part. That's the concerning part. And
God's in charge. So in other words, you could obviously they are the bankers. In other words, the bankers are at the very top levels of human. Yeah. And of course, Satan is above them. But, and Jesus did say the whole world lies in the power of the wicked one, or is lying down in the power of the wicked one. But the God is greater, and our God is greater, and God is going to succeed with his plans, and man's plans are going to fail. And regardless of the technology they've stolen from us over the years, in other words, we've had deals, but they usually don't pay. They usually cheat us out of our money, or they pay, and then the money disappears out of the account. It's frozen. Can't touch it. Brother Martin can attest to unbelievable amounts of money that's in our name in various banks around the world. He's our treasurer, Brother Timothy Moore, one of our treasurers. But all of our treasurers can attest to unbelievable amounts of money that was just frozen for no reason whatsoever. And they always tell us, "Oh yeah, that's gonna be freed up any day now." Blah blah blah. Well, it's been going on for 150 years. They've been doing stuff like this. And so anyway, that's the dark side for you. You can't trust them.
Now you mentioned earlier about zapping people right down to leaving their shoes on the ground. That is already happening. They have these weapons that are called directed energy, a directed energy weapon, DEWs. Yeah. I believe they were used on 9/11. I can't find any evidence of that, but from what I've seen, I believe that was part of the deal at 9/11. But more currently, a lot of these fires that are occurring around the planet, in Australia, in California, there are fires where the buildings are burned down, but yet 10, 20 feet from the building, there's a piece of rubber or a trash can that's completely intact. But if you look out in the street, the cars have been hit with something so hot that it not only did it melt the tires, it melted the rims. You can like molten like wax, just kind of flowing down the street. There are numerous reports where trees were burning from the inside out. Something is happening that's not natural when you see something like that. And that's what I thought of when you were saying, they'd zap people all the way down to their shoes. No telling how many people were killed in these quote fires that they completely demolished complete neighborhoods, yet unbelievably many times shrubbery and green was left alone for some reason. But buildings and cars and things of that nature utterly destroyed. Yet something as simple as a trash can, a recyclable trash can, one of those big trash cans that are made out of plastic, is left alone, while tires and rims are literally melted in the street. It's amazing. That's what I thought of when you said that.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah, they've already started doing their testing from space, I think. It might be from flying saucers of different kinds, of flying anti-gravity craft from higher up. But I think most of that is from the Star Wars. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. There's actually been multiple cities. The one most well-known is Paradise, California. But
Paradise, that's right.
That's right. Literally burned to the ground, and the people pretty much burned up with it. Very few survivors. The standard operation is to have Red Cross and military both surround the city and make sure nobody escapes alive, basically. And very few people usually wind up escaping because they don't go on the roads. They go some other way.
They don't leave when they're told to leave. I have a friend of mine who lived in Paradise, and he said they gave him hours. The whole thing was sketchy from the beginning. They said one thing and something else happened. Then they said, well, this has changed and now you got to get out. And before he knew it, they were forcing people out of their homes.
This will be just World War III. It'll be, they'll probably say aliens are invading, and that's the reason we have a world war, and it's an Earth against the aliens, and yet they'll be evacuating the whole areas, probably whole states, literally whole states in the United States will be forcibly evacuated, and most of the people wind up going to concentration camps. They'll be calling them refugee camps or something like this. Yeah. And only the rich will get out of there, or they'll be the rich and the connected will be taken to third world countries where it's not, the war is not as intense, and there's multiple, or these secret cities. There's multiples of these places already built and ready to start functioning. Already functioning. They just haven't filled them up with their own people yet. And so this is what World War III is going to be about. And this fake COVID virus thing is just a warm-up exercise for all that. They're over here, you still can't travel 3 blocks without getting stopped. And even if you have the papers, with your health report and your clearances, all your different government clearances, and they got like 5 or 6 papers you're supposed to carry with you all the time in order to travel even 3 blocks. Even if you have all those, they can still say, and they do about half the time, they still say, no, we're not letting you through. And so if you want to get groceries or something, you can just starve to death because it's too bad. We're not letting you through. And even groceries, if you can make it to the grocery store, there's no point in going because everything there is like an egg instead of used to be 10 cents before this whole 2020 started, this whole crazy COVID garbage started, scamdemic. It used to be 10 to 20 cents, or 20 cents for an egg, and now they're like each egg is like $3. I mean,
Holy
it's in
smokes.
pesos, but so you go down to the store, you can't afford to buy anything. So it's basically you're losing weight. Basically, what's going on? You're on a forced diet. So I did hear a prophet that I have a respect for, a man of God, that said 2020s, the whole decade, is the decade of forced change. And I said, yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely forced change. So forcing me to get thinner. But that's okay. I was a little too fat anyway. I
would
do
agree
feel
with
bad
that.
for all the other people, starving children. That makes it real difficult to feed them. We do take care of starving children, elderly, hungry people, and it's very difficult nowadays. So we do appreciate anybody's gifts of support. You can go to the ministry and the wits.ws website and donate as the Lord leads your heart. We save thousands of lives every day, and that's what the work of the Lord's all about. So and
they have
sharing technology as well. Anybody that wants free classes, almost the entire website is free classes. 99%. Every page is free classes. There's one page, that's the gifts page, the legacy gifts page. It has stuff for minimum donation, has different machines and stuff for different minimum donations, different classes. But everything else is completely free. Many classes on advanced technology, totally free.
Many different things available there. One of the things that comes to mind right now is the Queet technology that you had. That now people are attempting to copy. I think I shared with you a while back. They have these patches where people can put a patch on. It's supposed to be able to kill the pain, kind of thing. That you had that. I don't know how many years ago. My gosh, how long ago did you get that?
They were developed in the early 90s. We started mass producing them in 96 or 97. I forget which. Somewhere right in there. So we've had those for 2023 years in mass production, and they were actually the first affordable pico technology, and we called it nanotechnology because no one knew what pico technology is, and you still run into that nowadays. Pico is basically 1,000 times smaller than nano, but it's the first affordable pico technology. Still is. There's nothing else like it. The closest thing is an information technology called the SIM card, and those did come out about the same time as ours. But ours is an energy technology, and the SIM card is information technology, where you can, inside your phone, there's a little thing the size of your fingernail or smaller, and it stores, 10 movies or something like that in there, a huge amount of information in there. Maybe it's, something like that. Maybe it's 20 movies or 100 movies even, I don't know. But that's information technology.
So
ours is energy technology. So it helps you get rid of pain. It helps you cancel the toxic RF that's everywhere. It helps you be healthier, heal faster. Lots of different uses for it. It does. If you put one on a battery, the battery generally will last longer and charge faster. If you put 2 or 3 on a battery, you can get it to charge in a few seconds. Not every battery, but some batteries will charge in just a few seconds when it normally took them a few hours, and like a cell phone battery or something like that. And it'll be full charge. It might lose, as batteries get older, it takes about a year to get fully realigned in this way of use, and faster and faster in the charge. But anyway, it'll do it. Most batteries, you put 3 of them on one of these little batteries as an experiment.
And that technology has been copied, and they're coming out with it now. But I can't help but feel what they're coming out with is not. It's a copy. Anytime you make a copy, I learned this a long time ago because I'm in the industry, the copy industry. There's a degree of loss. There's when you have an original at 100%, you make a copy. Your copy may be 99%, 99.9%. The point being is that there is a loss. There's a degree of loss. And so they've made a copy of this technology. And I can't help but feel because it is a copy, they're not the originators. I really don't think they understand it like which technology understands it. And because of that, they are able to produce this and send it out into the marketplace. And just to let you know that Wits Ministries has had this long before this was ever known. I just recently, within the last, maybe 6 months, 8 months, that they started showing this technology openly. You know, I know it's been around, and it was quite expensive as well.
I think it's even more than ours. So ours is a $60 donation. You can get one of these queets sent to you. The queet stands for Quantum Energy Technology. Quantum Energy Enhancement Technology, and that's where you get the two E's: Energy Enhancement Technology, and it's for bioenergy, which your body does have a megahertz, frequency range, which also microwave frequency range. You can measure it and helps keep if your energy are working good, you are very healthy. Basically, the better your energies are working, the higher the frequencies, generally speaking, and the healthier you are. So this technology helps tune up your body. It helps tune up your batteries. It helps tune up your power system in your house. It helps tune up anything electrical to get better performance, healthier performance. It helps negate unnatural energies like from RF towers into more natural forms of energy. It does not diminish the signal. In some cases, it increases the signal. You're still, you're able to get signal, but the energy your body is exposed to is not as negative is not as many negative health consequences. Let's say it that way. And there was some early ones that tried to mimic ours, and most of them had. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, right after we came out with ours. And most of them had very little noticeable changes on anything. We did do a huge amount of testing. And then recently there's been a resurgence in that. So for a long time it went dead, quiet, almost nothing except for World Improvement Ministries. And then now recently there's another resurgence, and these look more high-tech than ever. But I haven't tested them, so I can't tell you how they perform against ours. Excuse me. But I suspect, like you say, that the others tested terrible. So I suspect these aren't going to test very good either. But you can make any kind of a claim, but the proof is in the results, basically in the test results. Interesting stuff.
Yep, absolutely. And like you said, the closer that you get to the Lord, the Creator, the more advanced your technologies become. This is pretty advanced stuff when you're able to understand how to control what we call gravity, when you're able to understand that the general belief of what we call electricity is really more than just what we understand, far more than what we understand. When you can look at a human body and design technology to help heal it, all of this is advanced technology. So the reason I keep bringing it back up is to remind you the importance of what this man is telling you tonight. It's not a fly-by-night. I know I've had people listen to the advanced technology teachings on Wednesday nights. If you go to www.witts.ws, on Wednesday nights, Sir Timothy holds a class of advanced teachings, and they'll share with you some of the stuff the technology that they have, along with other things as well. But they hold free advanced teachings. You can get an idea what they're talking about. And I've had people who listened in, and Sir Timothy will say something like, we've talked about the moon or Mars, and people go, okay, that's it. We got to shut this. I can't hear that. That's just crazy. There's no way. Yes, there is a way. That's the sad part. There has been a way. For a very long time, there's been a way. It's just that we've been lied to. He mentioned to you the generator that runs on water. There was a man years ago that developed a car to run on water, and he thought he was being a patriot and went to the government and said, hey, you know what, you guys, you don't have to worry about oil and gas. You don't have to worry about gas anymore. We can run all of the vehicles on water, and my gosh, you'll never have to worry about a gas tank for any of your Navy vessels, because they can convert the seawater into direct energy and get more energy out of that water than they can out of the gas. And he ended up getting killed. Why? Because they didn't realize how important the oil industry is in the world economy. So when you represent something that could threaten that, these people who are extremely powerful completely freak out. So that never came to market. He was really close to getting to market, and they literally killed him. So the technology's been around for a long time. I don't know, did you have anything to do with helping him develop that technology, Sir Timothy?
Stanley Myers?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He took classes from us, and he also bought a machine from us. So Never paid us, though, but got killed, I guess, before he could pay us. But he owed us for about 10 years before he got killed. So I honestly think what happened with him is, he did upset some of the wrong people, but he also upset a lot of people. I think he got in trouble with the money end of it, honestly. In other words, a lot of people gave him money, and he was very slow to getting results. He would promise results the next day or something, and never deliver.
Yeah.
So I think he got in trouble with too many people promising too much. And the good news is that now there's more freedom than ever.
Yeah.
World War III, they're planning to unleash a huge amount of technology, but again, it's only going to be for, the elite. Unfortunately, it's already in the hands of the elite, but it's going to be more of the elite of the elite, or the servants of the elite that'll get a hold of it. So if people want something, now is the time. Honestly, like the water power generator, now is the time. And there's a number of gifts on the gifts page. There's 77 gifts on the gifts page, and all of them are good stuff. So if you want to learn how to build your own, or you want to anything, you can just go look at it. It's a lot of different stuff. The queets are just one of the many things. You can put a queet on a battery many times. The results go over Unity just by putting the battery goes over Unity just by putting the queet on there, or the charging system goes over Unity, or many different technologies. That's just 2 out of 77. So we keep 77 gifts on the gifts page. If we take one down, we put another one up. And there's a lot of great things. Another new offer, by the way, is the anti-gravity flying saucer rides. If someone wants to see it for themselves, we have a new page that just went up. I think it's called spacerides.com, I think, or something. I'd have to, let me see if I got it here somewhere. Here it is. Let me pull it up here. It's spacerides.ws. Excuse me, spacerides.wits.ws. So Space Rides, just like it sounds, .witts.ws. That's a new page for wits.ws. And it talks a little bit about our history. It basically offers a ride on a modern craft that we're building ourselves here. And this first rides won't be into space. We'll just be, a few feet off the ground. But as the funds come in, we'll go higher and higher. And everybody can be an astronaut. There's all kinds of opportunities in this new industry, and it is a new industry, and a lot of people are interested in it, and it'll be quite exciting to participate. I'm one of the few people that have been off the planet and seen the planet from 100 miles up, 99.9, and we flew completely around the planet. And so it's a beautiful view out there. Everybody should be able to enjoy it. And one of the big advantages of the spaceships that we're promoting at this point is you could travel anywhere on the planet Earth in about 2 hours, and you can go to the moon in about 1 or 2 days, and go to Mars in about 3 or 4 days. So you don't have the slowness that you have with rockets, plus you don't have a huge amount of fuel. You're picking up your fuel as you go in this particular design. And it's going to be pretty exciting. So we'll have solar panels on the ship, and similar to you can buy a lot of things now, like toy cars that have a solar panel, and the car will just zoom as long as it's in the sun. And by the way, when you leave the Earth, you're in the sun. They're in the sun all the time. If you go a long ways from the sun, well, then you got problems. But you can make it to Mars, and you can make it back. And so that's all easy. And solar is not the main source of the power either. It's the main source is what's called quantum energy, and electrical energy is only 1/3 of the electrical-like forces. They used to just call it electrical-like forces. Nowadays, if you look up the plasma universe or the electric universe, you'll find a huge amount of information from basically people that we've taught, and they've taken it, and many of them have gone a step further than what we taught them, which still doesn't put them in the same range as what we are, but at least they're getting closer to where we are. And so basically it used to be Mark Twain, also main name is Samuel Clemens. He had a saying that I believe he was right on the nose, right on the money with this saying. He said, if you're 1 step ahead of the crowd, you're a visionary, but if you're 2 steps ahead of the crowd, you're a crackpot. So Tesla was a crackpot. Ron Brandt was a crackpot. I was a crackpot. A lot of us were crackpots until recently. The rest of the crowd is starting to catch up to us, and now we're more like visionaries. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, it's fun and interesting. And like I say, the world is ready for the water-powered engines. After the war, everybody will know it's real. I imagine some of the craft will be shot down, whether they're piloted actually by extraterrestrials or not, and the engine and the technology will become. The official report will, we can do this too. We figured out how to do this too. We back engineer. That's the official report. But the truth is, we've been doing it for, depends on which technology we're talking about, but roughly 100 years to 200 years in that range. The advanced technology. Water engines, for example, 1830s. That's just, so that's 190 years right now. We've been doing engines that run 100% on water. And this is exciting technology because it's just now being produced again. And we have produced it, again for the secret cities, for classified projects, and many other types of advanced technologies as well. But the water engines are now available to the common people. And I would say at an affordable price. Go look it over at the gifts page. And I say price. Everything's by donation. We really don't have price. And 99% of everything is free on our website, mostly classes. But there is 1% or 0.1% where we do try to make money so we can feed the poor, basically, and feed the needy, take care of the needy, take care of the elderly. In most countries of the world, there is no welfare. That's something people in the United States are used to. Europe used to it, but most countries of the world there is no welfare at all. So the family of God is the welfare, or is the ones who are taking care of those that can't take care of themselves. So anyway,
like I said earlier on in the program, this is a man who's on both sides of the fence. He has advanced technologies, but yet he's simple and humble enough to go work with orphans and work with orphanages to make sure that these children have clothes and food, and that they're brought up in an environment that gives them hope. He goes from one end to, it's amazing, really. If there were more people like this in the world, I tell you, I really believe if we had more people like Sir T and the ministry that he's involved with in the world, we wouldn't be seeing a lot of what we're seeing today. We've been taken over by people who are just they have a lust for power, and it really shows. I was telling the listeners before you came on, this coming week I may end up in jail. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. They're going to be a commissioner meeting here in Palm Beach County about the requirement to a mandatory wearing of a face mask. Well, I'm not going to wear a face mask. So what are they going to do to me? They're going to put me in a cage? I'm going to fight. I'm not going to go quietly. Are you going to find me? I'm going to laugh at you. I'm going to take whatever it is that you write out. I'm going to rip it up right in front of you and throw it in your face. I'm not going to comply with wearing a face mask because you feel threatened. Beside the fact that the last time I checked, nobody gave these people the authority to regulate how I breathe. So, this is what one of the things that it's just, I get going on that, Sir Timothy, and it drives me crazy. Do you know anything about the masks? Can you shed any light on the wearing or not wearing of a mask? If you know.
Happy to comment. Yeah. And don't let me forget to get back to you about the children of God. The sons of God are going to be greater than ever. That's another prophecy that the Lord told me that I want to share with everybody. This decade, starting now, the sons of God are being manifest more than ever. And I'm just one, you're just one, but there's going to be more and more of us operating in the power of God, setting things right, and helping set things right worldwide. The Bible says all creation groans for the manifestations of the sons of God. And literally, most of the laws, a lot of them that are being enforced are absolute foolishness. at best, and at worst, they're there to try to figure out how to charge us for air. Basically, they get us paying for masks, and force us to buy them, force us to wear them. And at first, it's just a few pennies, and you don't worry about it, a few dollars, so you don't worry about it. But then, as time goes on, they raise the price, and pretty soon they're regulating that what you every breath you take.
They did that. That's exactly what happened with insulin. The people who invented insulin invented it on purpose, so that it would be an inexpensive medicine for people with diabetes. And it went from one of the most inexpensive to one of the most expensive medicines, to the tune of like hundreds of dollars a month for some people, when it was only supposed to be pennies.
Right. Same way with property taxes. 200 years ago, there were no property taxes in the United States, anywhere in the world. And then they thought, well, we'll just make people pay, just a few cents a year on an acre, and then the next year is a few more cents and a few dollars. And, at first nobody thought it was any problem. And then all of a sudden now, you spend all your savings trying to pay your property taxes every year.
People lose their homes.
Yeah, people use their home. They can't pay their taxes. All the government is like this. They start out so small, you think it's minor, and pretty soon, after a few decades or whatever, it's all of a sudden a huge problem. And so anyway, the sons of God are going to be manifested to destroy the works of the devil. This is a scripture. Jesus was manifested to destroy the works of the devil. He didn't fail in his assignment. It's just that people haven't stood up and started acting like he told us to act. Basically, he said, these things that I do shall you do also, and greater things than these. So you're doing the right thing, Brother Riscala, by trying to, challenge them a little bit on this. And of course, I do pray that you don't wind up in jail. I've been jailed myself for challenging the dark side on different things. And, we'll pray that it works out as best possible. But I agree with you 100%. Wearing masks is not healthy for anybody. It's not, for one thing, we are the cure. And Jesus breathed on his disciples, and they received the power of God. They received the Holy Spirit. We should be breathing on people. He said, do the things that we do, I do, and these things that I do shall you do also, and greater things than these. We should be breathing on people too, so they can receive the healing power of God, the Holy Spirit, everything else. This is unbelievable that they're trying to stop the power of God from spreading. I wouldn't participate in it either. I absolutely would not participate in it. I mean, I do wear the mask when I cross the checkpoints or try to get through the checkpoints, because they will just pull you out of your car and put you in prison just immediately. No trial, nothing, no hearing, nothing. They'll shoot you on the spot, one or the other. Even if you have a slight temperature, they'll take you as a prisoner. And if you try to escape, they'll shoot you and kill you. And so they all got guns, all the checkpoints. Every 3 blocks, they got a checkpoint.
Wow.
Here. So if you go anywhere, it's a 2 mile radius. 2 miles from here, you're going to go through about 5 checkpoints going there, and same 5 checkpoints coming back. And if any of those, you're not wearing a mask, you get put in prison.
Wow.
It's these prison hospitals is what they are, basically. Bars on the windows, bars on the doors, and also they're secret. Nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows where the people get taken to. It's a lot of people never heard from again. It's just because their crazy little point and click thermometer said 1 degree higher. And if you refuse to wear a mask, they're definitely going to put you in those places. So it's not. At least we in America used to have democracy, a little bit of democracy, a little bit of the right to say speak your own mind and share your own mind. Here you don't have any of that right now, but very little of that. I'll just say it that way right now.
I'm guessing at this point, but I'm guessing that it didn't start out that way. That at one time, it was a lot freer than it is today, but
Absolutely.
Over a degree of time, small step here, small step there, and before you know it, you're under a situation where if you're not wearing what they tell you to wear, you are threatened with either a fine or prison. And where you are, I guess there must be really strong gun ordinances as well, because you can't defend yourself.
Right.
So you're under their thumb, basically. Whatever they want out of you, they can get out of you. You're left defenseless at this point. That's why I'm going. That's why I'm speaking out. That's why I do what I do every Saturday night, because I have seen it personally in my life. I've watched it happen, particularly since 9/11 in this country. Everything that we're going under right now is all because of 9/11. Put the pandemic thing aside and the George Floyd thing aside. But all this other stuff, the Department of Homeland Security, the militarization of our police, both mentally and physically, all of that is from 9/11. All of these different programs that build that we spend so much money learning how to kill other people is all because of 9/11. And if 9/11 was a lie, then everything we've done since then has been for naught. And that's why it's important that you learn what happened on 9/11. That's why it's important, vitally important, that you understand 9/11 is not what we were told it was. It's a lot more than that. But moving forward to present day, we are being deceived to this very day. You know, Sir Timothy called it the scamdemic. I call it the plandemic. There are many people who agree. There were people who knew this was coming. There were people who were influential in causing it to happen. And they're utilizing that to make all kinds of money and gain all kinds of control over us. It's a multifaceted vehicle that allows them to do a variety of things. And here in Palm Beach County, when they're telling us you're going to have to wear a mask in public, I'm not going to go for that. I'm not going to wear a mask in public. And so what are they going to do to me? Are they going to fine me? I'm going to take whatever that ticket is or whatever that citation is. I'm going to rip it up right in front of them and throw it in their face. So what are they going to do after that? They're going to put me in a cage because I refuse to wear a mask? Do you think that putting me in a cage, you're going to make me wear the mask? I'll take it off in there. I'm just not going to. I've reached a point. This has been boiling in me for a long time, but particularly in the last couple of months where the government has way overstepped its authority. Oh, my God. Way overstepped its authority. Their government does not have the authority to tell you that you cannot go to work. The government does not have the authority to tell you that you can't go to a park, that you can't go to the beach, that you can't travel, unless you're a felon or if you've broken the law. But I'm saying to law-abiding citizens who have done nothing wrong, the government does not have the authority to do this, and yet they've done it. And why? Because the majority of us have remained silent. Now more and more people are realizing this pandemic thing is a joke. The virus is very serious and kills people. The idea that it is a pandemic is a joke. It is being used to control you. And more it is being perpetrated. And this idea of making people wear a mask, not only does it go against my personal conviction, I believe personally it is further compliance into slavery. That's what they did to the slaves. They made them wear masks.
That's right. So the good news is we're about to be delivered, like when Moses came to the nation of Israel when they were slavery to Egypt. Sort of like Moses is coming now, and that's Jesus. Jesus is coming back. Moses pictures Jesus returned. And it may take a few years. They didn't get released right away. There were 10 plagues that had to hit Egypt before they got released. And so there'll be some serious judgments here on this planet. World War III is just the first one. There'll be you can say 10 plagues. The Bible, you can read Revelation. You can see there's groups of 7. There's 4 groups of 7. 7 bowls, 7 trumpets, 7. Let's see, what was it? There's at least 3 groups of 7. So anyway,
7 seals. Right? 7 seals.
Yeah, and then also the horsemen of the apocalypse, verse 5 or 6, are judgments as well. So all those things are destined for. So it's not just 10 plagues. It looks like there's more like 20 or 25, and it's gonna make the world turn the world right side up for God. In other words, everybody by the last return of the Lord, that third return, everybody will be crying out, and begging Him to come back and save them, because it's going to be so bad. He says, unless He returns in the nick of time, He says no flesh would survive. No flesh. And that includes animals. That includes people. Nobody would survive unless the Lord returns in the nick of time. But on account of the chosen, He will return. That shows you some of the chosen are still there at the end. There's 3 groups. Each group, the first group, this first rapture, the thief in the night rapture, is the smallest number of people, least number of people expecting Him. You don't get to go if you're not expecting Him. You don't get to go if you're not serving Him. You don't get to go if you're not loving Him. You don't get to go if you're not humble and repent. Anyway, so those are basic 3 requirements, 4 if you want to say it that way. And then the medium Raptor is probably just before the meteor hits. Probably, he didn't say exactly, but he did show me the meteor hitting, the big meteor, shaking the whole planet, giant tidal waves, whole islands being underwater, from the tidal wave. The inland coastland waters going 200 miles when it hits. But the good news is, all along this Great Tribulation, more and more sons of God are going to start appearing. I think those that are raptured the first time are going to start appearing more and more in the earth, and helping people, and rescuing people, and saving people. I don't think we're going to be gone for 7 years. I really don't. He didn't tell me, anything like that, and I don't feel it in my spirit. I feel like we're going to be right here, helping as much as we can. We'll get new bodies. I think everybody that gets raptured, and all 3 raptors, all the good guys get new bodies.
I'm ready for mine.
What's that?
I'm ready for mine.
Amen. Amen. You'll be young again, brother. You'll be able to do more than you ever could.
Alrighty.
By the power of God, and you'll be immortal, and you cannot get sick. There's actually a group called, they call themselves Christian mystics. There's a number of them. They are claim they're already ascending into heaven anytime they want and coming back down. And there's some evidence that they may be telling the truth about this stuff. It's interesting.
Wow.
They're nice people. All of them seem like nice people. They all seem like they have the Spirit of God on them, and lots of miracles in their ministries, prospectively, some of them, and they call themselves Christian mystics. So they say that they're the sons of the prophets. The prophet age is past, still prophets, but they're the sons of the prophets. They're the next generation, if you want to say it that way. Although some of them are quite old, older than me. So Christian mystics, I looked it up. And the meaning they use is basically that somebody that's interested in the mysteries of God, and communion and union as foremost. Wow. So they believe they can ascend into heaven anytime they want. You can learn it, I can learn it, and talk with the Lord. On the downside, if they have been talking with him, why have none of them forecasted the 2020? None of them.
Wow.
So you got to wonder if they're really coming and going like they claim they are. But it's a great thing. Maybe they just never asked. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's interesting stuff.
All right, Sir T. Well, I'm up against a break. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
I'm good. Are you want me to try to stay on?
Yeah, if you'd like to hang on. I didn't know how much longer you could hang on with me, but if you'd like to hang on, I'm going to take a break and I'll be back. And if you want to hang in there, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, I'll be able to go another 15 minutes, I think. So I'll go ahead and take a break plus 15 minutes.
All right, here we go. I appreciate that.
Thank you, brother.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
Grace has some pretty stellar arms, like Serena Williams good, but her face is pretty disgusting.
Someone please tell him to go back into his closet and leave us alone.
Britney's face is so stupid and I hate her so much. It's like a scientist created her in a lab to annoy humanity and didn't even do that good of a job.
Megan reminds me of a troll doll that came to life intent on killing us with her stupidity.
Why is Grace's head so big? It definitely has nothing to do with how smart she is and probably everything to do with how bloated she is.
He's so funny. Just kidding. Who would find this disfigured flamingo funny?
Never post a selfie of yourself. You look so ugly.
The only reason you have so many views is because we think you're a freak and we can't look away.
Megan is the main reason that the world sucks so much.
I would rather get cancer than listen to another Trevor Moran song.
You are a mistake. You should have never been born.
Drown yourself in a shallow puddle, please.
Wow, I hope she's sterile.
These really stopped being funny a long time ago.
You're so much more than the things that people say about you. Those people have no right to say cruel things to you to make themselves feel better.
It's okay that you sound different than everyone else.
That's what makes you so special.
We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate it.
We will not tolerate
We will not tolerate it.
Every day, people make me feel like I stand out simply because of the way that I look.
Every day, people make me feel small.
Every day, I face the cruel words of bullying. And every day, people tell me that I'm brave for enduring this humiliation.
But we're not the brave ones.
It's the ones that say no to the bullying.
The witnesses.
If we all join together, there's nothing that we can't do. We will no longer be the silent majority.
When we see bullying online,
We will let the world know that we're going to take action with the eye.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
Our actions will overpower cruel words.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness. I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
There is power in words.
But it's nothing compared to the power of the actions that we put behind our words.
Visit eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more.
I am a witness, and so are you.
I'm gonna stand by you.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
We have ignition. Strap in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Miss Scala, every Saturday night on the LNM Network from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Riscala.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill.
All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. I am your host, Riscala. It is an honor and privilege to have you tune in. Tonight, I've had the honor of having Sir Timothy with Sir Timothy Thrapp, with Wits Ministry, and he shared quite a bit with us tonight. It's been an eye-opener for some of you, I'm sure. But I can tell you that what he's given you with regard to information, the ability of the ministry to do what they do is accurate. I've seen it myself. So you can go over to the website, www.witts.ws, not com. A lot of people go to com and go, I couldn't find it, Riscala. WS, remember, website. WITTS.WS. And before I forget, I want to say a big thank you to WCET-FM for being our home network and allowing us the platform to reach all of you people out there. If you go to www.wcetfm.com, that is one of the places that you can hear our show. and hope that you would take the time to make a donation or be a subscriber. We are a subscriber-supported station. We don't utilize these big companies because they try to control us. We attempted to do that in the past, and it came back to bite us in the proverbial behind, where they told us we weren't allowed to speak about certain things, and we told them we're not going to do that, and of course they dropped the sponsorship. So we'd rather have the freedom of being able to discuss whatever we feel is important, regardless of whose feet that might step on. If it's true, and we're not trying to dispel somebody or purposely hurt somebody, then we should have the freedom to do that. And sadly, many of the social platforms don't let you do that. So big thank you to WCET-FM. Go over there, www.wcetfm.com. We have the app. For those of you who have heard me tell you that we had an app coming out, the app is available. The app is available at the Google Play Store. I think it's going to be in all the stores here very shortly. There's two ways you can find the app. The easiest right now, I think, is if you use the search term fishing_in_Florida, all lowercase. If you do that, fishing_in_Florida, on the search bar in Google Play, you'll come up with WCET-FM. It is a very basic application. It's just a way to listen to our station is what it is. I made it as easy and as resourceless as we could possibly make it. So the app is there. It's free to download. Another way to listen to us. If you go to Facebook, you can find our Facebook page. Give us a like while you're there. It makes us relevant in the searches. Red Pill Reality Show on Facebook. Click on Contact Us. Connects you to our live server. Another way you can listen to us. And we have, we have a call-in line. For the life of me, I just lost it. I just lost it, so I'm sorry. I'll have to bypass the call-in line, but we do have a way that you can call in and listen to us as well. I know it's 7:01 something, but I just can't think of it right now. It's late in the evening here, almost bedtime time for me, because I'll be doing a show first thing in the morning again. In the meantime, I've got a couple of minutes left, and I wanted to give Sir Timothy an opportunity to share anything else that he would like with us. So let me do that. Welcome back, Sir Timothy. Thank you so very much for taking the time and sharing with us tonight.
Oh, you're welcome, brother. Awesome to be here. How much longer do you go? About another 20 minutes, is that correct?
Yeah, almost 20 minutes.
Yeah, okay. If you want people to call in and ask questions, it's fine with me. Or if you want me to talk about anything in particular, I do have one or two things that comes to mind.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. We also want to make it known that not only are we offering the flying saucer rides, but we're also offering the water-powered generator. If somebody wants to be a mass producer, or in other words, a dealer, a distributor, or manufacturer, all that's open as well. We need to set up one in every state and every country of the world. So that, because shipping is going to, like all wars, shipping gets pretty difficult. And now's the time to get started. You don't wait till the war starts. Officially, unofficially, it's probably already started. But anyway, yeah, you don't want to wait too long, obviously. So if anybody's interested in being a dealer or distributor in water-powered generators or water-powered motorcycles or water-powered engines of any kind, get in contact with us. wits.ws is the website again. Just the Contact Us page, and we'll get back with you. Just send us an email. We'll go from there. I'm open to questions if you'd like, brother Scala.
I can open up the lines, but I don't know if we'll get any calls at this point. The lines are open. The number is 561-440-5174. I meant to do that earlier, but what we were talking about was so interesting. I completely got sidetracked about that. 561-440-5174. If you have a question or comment for Sir Timothy with the WITS Ministry, please give us a call. We'll be happy to accommodate you. Before I take a call, I wanted to ask you about is the technology, I want to call it a HHO generator because that's just a simple thing that I can relate to. Do you have that available?
Yeah. These machines come with their own HHO generator installed.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying just the generator, where it could be.
We offer just the generator. We do teach people how to build them. That's classes on the gifts page. We're not offering the generator yet at this time, although we might be in the future. Yeah, it's yeah, we probably could put that on the gifts page. So if that's all you're interested in, do let us know, and we could probably get you a minimum donation amount on those particular items if you want. Yeah.
One of the nice things about having one of these, the ability to utilize this water as fuel. Sir Timothy mentioned earlier, you could even have it in the house with you, because what comes out the exhaust pipe is water. It goes in water and comes out water. I mean, how much more recyclable can you be?
Right. You
That's
can
a little.
recycle water. We've done that too. That's yeah. It's you know, it's preferred that you get distilled water either from rain or from your own distiller or from the heat of the engine, make distilled water. But it has been done where you recycle the water and you get a lot more economy. But these things are very economical. Typically, you can run 3 or 4 days on a cup of water.
Yeah,
Very economical.
Water as a fuel is far more. Can't think of the right word. Far more efficient, maybe could be the right word, than gasoline will ever be, by 10 or 20 times of what
Yeah, in my
gasoline could ever
opinion,
be.
all the fuels are just burning hydrogen. In other words, water is HHO, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen.
Right.
And they're all burning oxygen out of the air. In this case, the oxygen's in the fuel. Some of the oxygen's in the fuel, and you add air. They're all burning hydrogen, but there's a whole bunch of other junk in gasoline, a whole bunch of other junk in in everything, propane, everything. And all that other junk, all it does is stick in your engine and gum everything up and, make carbon compounds and such. And so your engine wears out faster. And so my experience with burning HHO is you can go 1,000,000 miles if you keep your oil, nice and clean.
Well, the oil will be cleaner because of the burn. The necessity to change the oil, the primary necessity in today's cars to change the oil is because the oil literally burns up, and small fragments of the engine from the high heat cause wear and tear on the engine. And so in order to be able to keep that to a minimum, you're constantly changing the oil. When you have something like this that burns cleanly, you have a completely different scenario. The oil's going to last a lot longer. It's not burning. It's imploding instead of exploding. It's an actual implosion, right, Sir Timothy? It's not an explosion. It's an implosion.
No, that's a misconception. I can explain that. The HHO in its pure form, no air mixed with it, just pure HHO off a hydroxy generator. When you spark it, let's say it's in a chamber, you spark it. The pressure in that chamber will, in a few microseconds, will go up. The first few microseconds, it'll go up maybe 10 times, and then it goes down, and it goes down to almost a pure vacuum. It goes down very low, depending on the temperature of the chamber and stuff, but near vacuum pressures. So that's minus 15 psi or so on the scale, 14 psi, minus 13 psi, like that is what you'd wind up with. So people call that an implosion. It's actually an explosion followed by an implosion.
Oh.
If you mix air with it, you still get explosion followed by implosion, but it's much more explosive initially, much greater, not just 10 times, it might be 1,000 times on the pressure on the explosion part. And yeah, it's at least 100 times. I'd have to look at the data. We did these tests years and years ago, so I don't remember them all. But because I was told, by the people like Ewell Brown that had worked with Brown's gas for 20, 30 years. He called it Brown's gas, it's HHO basically. I was told by him and people like him that there was no explosion, but I measured it in the lab, and there clearly is an explosion regardless, but there's an implosion following it. In the amount of implosion depends on the temperature of so if you've got a big chunk of metal like a cylinder of a car and it's room temperature, you will wind up with, even in the air, you'll wind up with a vacuum after it implodes, even with air mixed. But once it gets warm, you're not going to have that vacuum at all. There's no vacuum detectable. It stays. You got to vent that pressure. You got to vent that explosion. So as soon as the engine warms up, there is no. If it's mixed with air, there is no implosion. There's nothing you can measure. I'll just say nothing less than air pressure.
Interesting.
A couple hundred, 100, 150 degrees, 130 degrees, like that.
Wow. Well, I know that it is a cleaner, far, far more cleaner burn than gasoline. It's much, much cleaner. I remember, I can't remember the guy's name, but they had one of these generators. I think he was out of Philippines, maybe. They took a tissue, not a tissue. What is that, Riscala? What am I trying to think of? A handkerchief. They took a handkerchief and put it on the back of the exhaust pipe and let it sit there and run while it was running. And they held it on that exhaust pipe for, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, and then, put it in front of the camera, and you could see there was nothing on. There's no soot. There's nothing. It's just clean stuff that comes out the other end.
Right. Yeah, it's very clean, and that's huge. You can actually breathe HHO as a breathable gas.
Oh.
The downside is if there is a spark, you can die. It's a static electric spark. It can blow up your lungs or whatever. But it has been breathed in different tests. And
wow.
It's even used in diving and stuff like this. I personally don't mind breathing it mixed with air, but if you get over a certain percentage in the air, I think it's 0.1% or 0.01%, somewhere in that range, then the air becomes explosive. So you don't want to, there's safety. That's true with any kind of gas. There is safety issues with any kind of gas. So you don't want to have too many. I'd say this is one of the least dangerous. Well, all gases are dangerous. But this is one of the way we're doing it. There's extremely low volume of gas in the system at any given time, and so the less volume you have and the less pressure you have, the less damage an explosion would do if you had an explosion.
Yep.
So the way we're doing it, I'd say it's safer than propane, I'd say it's safer than propane, safer than natural gas as well. The way we're doing it.
Yeah, when you're dealing with these other natural gas or propane, you have these huge tanks of this stuff sitting there waiting, to explode.
Right.
I have a vague idea of what you're doing, and it is very small amounts, so it would be relatively safe because of the small amounts. Just enough to feed the engine is what's being made, and that therefore keeps it pretty safe. There's not a, maybe if something got out and it were to explode, it'd be like maybe a couple of firecrackers, maybe a little more than a firecracker, but it really wouldn't be much more with a small amount like that.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. That's anything could be misused. Anything, pretty much. You can make a hammer and you can use it to build a house and help your neighbor build his house, but other people can take it and hit the neighbor in the head with it and misuse it, obviously.
True.
So anything can be misused, but the way we're doing it, the way we make them very safe, I'd say safer than propane or natural gas. And natural gas, it comes in on the lines, and there is no storage in your house to speak of other than the line itself. But still, there's asphyxiation. This stuff you can't get asphyxiated.
Good point.
Yeah, this you can breathe it, like I say, all night long. It's not going to hurt you. It's good for you. Actually, it's been proven to be good for you to breathe it. But again, you don't want to fill up your house and then with any gas, any flammable gas, and then make a spark, like turn on a light switch or turn off a light switch or turn on a burner on a stove or make a spark, even static electric sparks. If you've got enough gas in your air, then you could have an explosion. But this machine makes just enough gas that's needed for the engine, and so there should be very little chance of anything going wrong on it.
Great. All right, my friend, we're about out of time. Anything else before I let you go, you want to share with the people?
I think we covered it pretty good. I'll just say there's lots of free teachings on the WITS.WS website. If you go to the Unprogram or the Teachings of Christ program or the Advanced Technology Teachings program, you'll find archives, or you can just click archives. You'll find archives of programs going back over 10 years. and a huge amount of free classes. Start at the beginning if you're interested in advanced technologies, and a huge amount of free classes. Or you can take, you can go to the gifts page, and if you've donated, make a request for, if you know, as long as your donation meets the minimum amount, you can get a personal class face to face on Skype. I usually teach those. And we are changing the world. Most of the advanced technologies that you hear about, the exciting stuff, did come from WITS. The anti-gravity, the free energy, the water fuel systems, the power of God. We've been promoting it for a long time, and you know, helping people implement it as well. And that's really what's the solution to all mankind's problems is the love of God, the power of God. God is going to rule the earth for 1,000 years, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be peaceful and beautiful. And
I can't wait. I can't
Oh,
wait.
sorry.
I'm saying I can't wait. Come on, bring it on.
It'll be awesome. So anyway, we're teaching those technologies now, technique and knowledge, how to receive from God, and hardware technologies as well, machines and so on. It'll all help people be prosperous as God intended. So that pretty much concludes everything I needed to say. You want me to?
I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, Sir T. I wish you an awesome day. I know it's daytime where you're at, so I wish you an awesome day, my friend. God bless you, and I'm looking forward to Wednesday night again.
Okay. God bless you too, brother.
Be well. All right, my friends, that's Sir Timothy Thrapp. He is with the WITS Ministry, WITTS.WS is the website. An amazing man. I know he says things like it's just common day, like, well, yeah, the moon and yeah, the Mars, and people go, okay, he's off the deep end. But I'm telling you, he knows what he's talking about. He been involved in this for many years. He's worked for NASA. He does work for the governments, different governments. I shouldn't say he. The ministry that he's involved with has done work for various governments around the planet. He's involved with, to a degree, I will tell you that they've helped these deep underground military bases, DUMs as people refer to them. They know how to build machines that can generate water from the air. They can rejuvenate the air. They can clean the air, take an area that is air contaminated and take it and purify it. And he says the closer that you get to God, the more advanced your technologies become. And I got to tell you, the most advanced technologies I've ever seen have come from this ministry. It's amazing. It's uplifting to know that there are people who are willing to sacrifice for the betterment of everybody. And particularly recently, as he mentioned, they've let the pressure up a little bit. They're not quite so stringent as they were at one time, and I think part of that is because of the internet, that the internet has allowed a lot of people to find out about things that were otherwise not known. So when he mentions about the flying saucer rides, people, I know I've had friends of mine go, oh, okay, I'm sorry, Riscala. That's it. I got to go. And he says it so nonchalantly, so commonly, but it's because he's been around it all the time. When it's something, it's, you think about this for a minute. Somebody my age, if I would have gone back into my early 20s and 30s and seen what some of the technology we had today, I'd say, oh, smokes, man. Are you kidding me? That can't be real. There's no way. You mean to tell me let's just use a smartphone, for example. You've got a device that can take care of my camera, take care of my cassette recorder or my 8-track, really going back, that can take care of my telephone. A telephone, we didn't have telephones, portable telephone. A portable telephone back then was a phone that had a long telephone cord on it. That was a portable telephone. And then you bring it forward and you see the technology that we have today. So we don't think it's any big deal. But if you went back 20 or 30 years with our technology, they would think it's a big deal. So that's the comparison I'm trying to make to you. To him, it's not a big deal because he's been around it for so long. The people who've never heard about it before, oh my gosh, did he just say go to the moon? No way. But that's his reality. That's what he deals with. And then when I tell you that their moral is to, what am I trying to say? That they serve God first, and then they serve mankind second. And that's what they do. They provide technology to serve us, and they're out there amongst the poorest of the poor. Orphans, they got no family. They're relying upon a system in hopes that they can have somewhere to sleep and clothes on their back and be safe. From that to space-age technology. You can't get more vast than that. You just can't get more vast than that. Come on. That's amazing. All right, so next week I am going to work on having David Callahan, Milo Townsend, and Chrissy. I can't remember her last name. Forgive me, Chrissy. It's late at night and I'm ready to go to bed. Well, I'm hoping to have them on next week and we can talk a little bit more about what's happening today. And we offer an option. I say we. That's not fair. They offer. They're involved with something that is so relevant today. As we watch our country slowly shutting down and turning into a communist state, they're going to force us to wear masks. Come on, people. Where is your integrity? You don't let them... Okay, the key word is let. Another word is allow. Permit. None of that. Don't allow them any of that. They have overstepped their authority by leaps and bounds. All to keep you safe. Going to keep you safe, John Public. We're going to demand that you do this. We're going to demand that you do that. And if you don't, we're going to fine you. If you don't pay the fine, we're going to put you in a cage. Cannot allow this, my friends. Cannot allow this. Because where does it stop? What is it going to be next? Is it going to be you have to wear a badge? Let's see. You have to, who knows? Who knows what they're going to make you do? There's no telling. If we don't stand up now, you can't see the chaos around you. You can't see that they're continuing to build and build and build. They're releasing prisoners, banning ammo and the sale of guns, arresting pastors, telling people they can't go to church or work. Come on. This is your last chance.
This is your last chance.
Talk to you in a week.
After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. 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 Take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes.